We're sitting here, and right behind you is the iconic 24 car, which everybody knows the history of that car prior to you getting in it, and now you're in it. But your path to get there, it was a little bit different than most.
Yeah, I started racing on iRacing, which is kind of unique and very different than other guys start racing. You know, I didn't run go-karts as a kid. I didn't really grow up in a racing family, so I was just so passionate about racing in general that I wanted to get involved in the driving side of it. And that came later when I was 14 or 15 years old, but thankfully I had iRacing to use as a platform to get started and hone my skills.
William Byron's a great story from our perspective because, I'll be honest, we didn't know anything about him. He was the one that told the story about how he used iRacing at home and was proving to be really good at it, and his dad took notice and said, you know what, why don't we get a Legends car and we'll go try this for real.
That bump in turn one, that bump is, I mean, that's right where it is on the racetrack.
I mean, most of the track layout stuff's exactly the same, which is really helpful if you're going to the racetrack for the first time.
So the simple fact that we're shifting, that's kind of, like I wouldn't have guessed that we would have had to do that when we started this, based on the video games I played in the past. There's iRacing and there's video games. What's generally the difference between the two?
Yeah, so iRacing's more of a simulator. It's not as much of a game, I think. They always say that, you know, guys that race iRacing all the time want to say how it's a simulator, not a game.
We are not a video game. You know, Gran Turismo, Forza, you buy one of those games in the store, you take it home and you run it on your console, you're going to play that for 20 or 30 hours. What's really unique about our product is that people spend hundreds of hours on our product because it's not easy.
It's really more of a tool. It's kind of like a flight simulator. It's more of something you use to hone your skills at a higher level instead of just going on there and picking up a controller.
Oh, you ran me up the track.
That was a pretty good race.
What was different from the iRacing in terms of when you got loose or when you got tight when you were in the real car?
Honestly, in some ways it was easier. And that sounds crazy, but you could feel the car more.
That doesn't sound crazy. It makes me kind of curious, though.
Yeah, you could feel the car more, and in person I had that extra, or I had extra skills to use or extra senses to kind of use in the car. So my sense of smell you don't have on iRacing, and your sense of, I guess, feel and danger and fear factor is not there.
I guess the fact that you think that the real cars are easier than the iRacing, that tells us why you're having the level of success that you are at this point right now.
Byron jumps to the lead on the restart.
He's so nervous, he knows how close he is to his first win at this moment.
Career win number one for William Byron comes at Iowa. What a night for William Byron.
Towards the end of that season, the announcement's made. You're going to the 24 car.
There was a big announcement earlier this week out of Hendrick Motorsports. 19-year-old William Byron will now occupy that car for the 2018 season.
There's a lot of pressure that comes with hopping in the 24 car.
Driving the Cup car itself is obviously a challenge, but I knew, you know, I just trusted my instinct, kind of trusted what I've done to get to this point. So, you know, the boss didn't really put that much pressure on me. Mr. Hendrick kind of told me to just go out there and make sure I can learn this year. You were running, that was like you ran half second faster than you ever did. Right there.
That's your way of saying bless his heart before you say you suck. When you look at iRacing and you look at the impact it had on your career, and yes, you had to go learn the driving aspect of it, but it's what kind of got you started. What role do you think it's going to play in kids coming up through in the future?
I think it's huge. I think it's probably the next innovation for racing. Or I think there's going to be more data, more chances to understand what's happening inside the race car. And I think where you see that in F1 is guys, they're taking them off the development teams and putting them right into the real cars just because of the data they see that they're able to produce. So I think you're going to understand who has talent, who doesn't, a lot quicker. And that's going to make for iRacing to be a bigger platform.
So, you want to race in NASCAR. The road starts here. Introducing the eNASCAR Ignite Series powered by iRacing. This is the gateway for all aspiring 13 to 16-year-olds. Starting June 20th, ignite your dreams of one day racing in the top tiers of NASCAR. Go to www.iracing.com/ignite for full details.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Talladega Super Speedway for the Blazing Pedals Racing League Weregonnalose 200. Tonight we have some Super Speedway racing on tap for you with the K&N National cars. And Trevin, we don't see these cars too often, but when we do, a lot of times it's at a Super Speedway because these cars are fantastic on these large tracks, and they kind of almost drive just a little bit like those Gen 4s.
Yeah, absolutely. We do not see these guys a lot. You know, these cars are such a great car to run as well. I always have a blast running these things. It's always bringing something else to the table, especially at a super speedway track such as Talladega. You know, we got these cars, and if you look at the front end of these cars, Kelly, they're a little bit different. They have a different front end as, you know, as we see Gen 6 or Cup cars, trucks, or Xfinity. You know, it's a little bit different. You have to get that bump just right, because if you don't, that car that you're pushing is going to go straight into that wall.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring up the bump drafting. As you mentioned, there are different nose from the Gen 6s and all that. The Gen 6s have a bit of a flatter nose. These are a bit more curved. So if you're going to bump draft someone, you got to be careful. You could lift up those rear wheels and you could put someone to the wall, but bump drafting is going to be faster around this track. And we're going to have to see if any of these drivers are going to be able to coordinate with each other to do so. And there's a few drivers that are going to be pushing hard for this race because we may not have the biggest battle for the first spot in the championship standings, but there's a battle for the third spot in the championship standings. And the way this league runs is all three of those drivers will get a payout. So with a bit of a battle between third, fourth, and fifth, Brian Dees, Eric Gary, and Nicholas Wing, all those guys are going to be pushing extremely hard, trying to get any position they can, because that points battle for those three, between those three for that final payout spot is extremely close.
Yeah, and you know, that just brings so much more to fighting for position, because you know, some days you're just running for bragging rights. But this, if you're running for money, well, we all know money makes people do crazy things. You know, it just brings so much more to the table, and it brings so much more hard racing to the table as well. And I'm excited to see, you know, such a track like this. You know, it's a great equalizer, I like to say, because you don't know who's gonna win. You don't say to yourself, finish the race. You say, survive the race here, Kelly.
And these drivers are just getting qualifying wrapped up here. It's just a single lap around here, so every little bit counts. You have to be on basically your top form the moment you leave pit road, because even if you do something just a little bit wrong on that out lap, you're going to be a little bit slower for your main lap because you're not going to have the full amount of time to get your car up to full speed. So this is a very more of a skill type of qualifying for it, and when you do a single lap compared to doing 2 laps here. So we've seen some very quick times in practice, saw them going all the way down to the 47 mark, but it's such a huge difference between practice when everyone's in a huge pack and up to speed than qualifying when they're still getting up to speed, where the fastest time right now is Travis Brown at 53.2, but looking at these qualifying times up on the board at the moment, it is still very close. Our top, I think, top 10 cars are all within a 1/10 of a second at the moment.
Yeah, and that just now that you know how far away these guys are separated, it's just going to bring a lot more excitement to this, because you know, you have a lot of fast cars here, and you know, as you pointed out, you only have 1 lap to get the job done here at qualifying, so you know you have to get that perfect lap. So you know, you're seeing some of these guys such as Wesley Johnson with the 1 minute, Travis McChesney with a 1:01. You know, with those guys further down, it just brings you know, your knowledge that some of these guys maybe had a bad lap, and you know, they didn't have that 1 lap to get recuperated and start setting out for that. But you know, you have all these guys: Travis Brown, Kyle Gilbert, Kevin Foster, all up in the top 3 so far during qualifying. So good job to them, and we'll see how this qualifying rounds out.
there's also a bit of a strategy to qualifying slower. For some people, they'd want to start a bit further back in the field. They don't want to be right up front, right out of the drop of the green flag. And this is a bit of a longer race. We have 75 laps, about just under 200 miles. So there's still going to be a lot of time to make your moves and plan your moves. Some people like starting up front and making those battles. Some people like starting in the back for these longer races, let the people wreck out front and quietly sneak past those wrecks. However, the thing is, if you're up front, there's a chance you're just going to be in front of the wreck and you'll be completely clear. If you're way off in the back, no matter what, that wreck is going to be in front of you and you're going to have to find a way through it. So there is still a little bit of risk to starting at the back.
Yes, there is. You know, you bring up a great point, especially at a track like this. You know, we're going to be talking a lot with the different characteristics of this beautiful 2.66 length and track, 4-turn, special finish line. You know, the list goes on and on with this track because it is such a unique track. You know, you're not going to just see 3-wide ran here as you see at Daytona because it's a little bit more narrow compared to this track. You're probably going to see 4-wide towards the end of this race, especially with the car count. 37 cars expected to take the grid here tonight, Kelly. So a lot of mayhem expected to be seen and a lot of great racing.
While those 37 cars start to line up, let's take a look at your starting grid and see where each driver is going to be starting. Starting on pole, the number 01, Travis Brown with a 53.213. That's your quick time, and there's your pole sitter. Starting to his outside will be Kyle Vincent Gilbert. In third, the 73 of Kevin Foster. On the outside in row number 2, and starting in fourth, the 88 of Dalton Kilroe. Ryan Washleski will be starting in 5th. 6th goes to the 92 of Blake Decker. Joseph Strobel starts in 7th. 8th goes to Eric Gary. 9th will be Corey Sherman, and rounding out the top 10, that's the 55 of David Dodd.
The number 3 of Scott Merritt going to start 11th. 12th going to go to Brian Dees. Ian Hubink, excuse me if I mess up any of these names, I'm so sorry. P13, P14, Jordan Barry. Jeffrey Patterson going to start 15th. 16th, Arthur Floyd. 17th, Jose Pardo. Terry Condes going to start P18. P19, Bill Harkins. P20, he's going to go to Brett Guzik.
Now moving on to our slower qualifiers that wanted to be starting around this midfield mark. That'll be the 18 of Wesley Johnson starting in 21st. 22nd goes to Travis McChesney. Cody Wynn in 23rd. The last car to take a qualifying time is the 04 of William Lewis. The rest just kind of wanted to grid up where they fall. That's Mark MacArthur going to be starting in 25th. Fabio Diaz in 26th. 27th goes to Ashton Schleiss. Taylor Frey starting in 28th, Tyler Rowland in 29th, and starting in 30th, that's the 8 of Michael Rinko.
31st going to be Terry Foster. Bryce Lewis going to be P32. P33, Kyle Kaczynski. P34, Noah Van Hoot. P35, Jeremy Funk. Jason Rosa going to be 38th. 36, Sean Hayes. 36 is going to be Jason. 37 will be Sean Hayes. And 38th will be Brandon Davis.
So that's going to be our 38 car field. Looks like a couple cars missed the grid, including that 93 of Buonarosa. So he'll be starting from pit road, and on a track like this, that's not the greatest place to start because by the time you get out of the pit road, you're going to be way past you. You're not going to have any sort of draft to work with. But as this field continues to roll along the Talladega super stretch here, it's going to be we got to start to wonder, are these guys going to go right off the drop of the flag, or are these guys going to take a few minutes to kind of feel each other out before trying to make a few moves?
I think, these guys have a few races under their belts together, but I'm not sure with the schedule that we got going on. Within the top 5 in the standings, there have been 7 wins separated among them, so at least 7 races. So they kind of know how they're all going to race, but we'll see what kind of aggressiveness they're going to be showing here tonight at Talladega. Again, this is a track where you're going to have to work with partners throughout the race, so we'll see how it works out for them.
Co-opetition is the word sometimes thrown around at these super speedways because you're competing against everyone else, but to be able to get yourself up to the front, you have to work with the other drivers. You have to work the draft. You can't just go off on your own and try to make something work. You always have to have someone pushing you or pulling you along. So you may be racing against them, but you're also going to be working with them. Cars now rolling out of turn number 4. Travis Brown going to be leading the field to the green flag. Pace car is going to pull off, and now it's the long roll to the start-finish line. Talladega a little bit more unique compared to Daytona, as the start-finish line is after the tri-oval, which gives the drivers a bit more time coming off of turn number 4 to make moves towards the finish line. But we're going to get ready to go green. That 01 machine ready to roll, and look at that 58 right on his door, ready to match him. 01 gets rolling. Travis Brown off to a great jump, green flag in the air, and we're going to get rolling for the Weregonnalose 200. 58 of Kyle Vincent Gilbert going to immediately duck in behind Travis and try to see if they can get that pair of cars moving off ahead of the rest of this field. Looking like the outside line starting to fall back immediately. That looks like the 92 of Blake Decker. He's just going to get freight trained by the pack of 4 cars underneath him, and he's going to lose a number of positions before he's finally able to slot in. But here comes that 88 Dalton Kilroe trying to get around the 73 of Kevin Foster, and he's going to have a little bit of help from Ryan Washleski. These guys got a great run. You're going to try to make a move for the lead here on lap number 1.
Yeah, and Kevin Foster still trying to get hooked up with that car right in front of him. That's the number 38 or 58 of Kyle Gilbert. So we're going to have to see how that works out for them. And Dalton Kilroy still trying to get to that front area. You got 3 against 4, maybe 5 on that top side. So we'll see how Kevin Foster's going to get hooked up with the number 58 and the 01. Now challenging for that race lead. We'll see if the 88 can clear him going into turn number 1, Kelly.
Dalton Kilroe will get credit for leading lap number 1, as he had a fantastic start going from 4th all the way to the lead. And we're going to have a caution here on the racetrack. Looks to be further back in the field, as a couple drivers may have gotten into each other, and it's going to be way back in the field, trying to still find it on the racetrack. And there we are. We got a number of drivers off in the looks like the run into turn number 1 here. Looks Brett Guzik kind of got involved with that, with looks like to be the number 97 of Bryce Lewis going into turn number 1. We'll get a replay up on your screen. It looks like Brett just didn't quite hear that. He thought he may have been clear going into turn number 1, kind of hooked that 97 into the wall, and just got a few other cars involved. Looks like to be maybe a 5 or 6 car pileup there to start this race.
Yeah, and you know, that just goes along with this kind of track that we have in this high amount of cars that we have. 37 cars did, in fact, take red and did, in fact, take that green flag. So, you know, with this high car count, you're going to see a lot of aggressiveness and a lot of racing hard. And, you know, they do indeed have one fast repair, Kelly. So, you know, they have that in their back pocket. You know, they have that in the back of their brain as well, knowing that that's going to be a factor in this race. But I don't think you want to use it up 3 laps into a 75-lap event.
Yeah, you certainly do not want to start off your race by using off your fast repair. However, just knowing that they've got that fast repair does cause a few drivers to maybe make those more risky moves, knowing that if something doesn't work out, they still are going to have a car left, and they're still going to be able to make an attempt on this race. And we're so early on into this race. It's when I would race super speedways in a league that had that fast repair, I did not want to use that fast repair before the first half of the race, because anything can happen at a super speedway. You could be way back in the field, have nothing involved in a wreck, but suddenly the track in front of you is completely blocked up, and you're left with nowhere to go. And that's just the way the luck may fall. It looks like they're going to get pit road going on right away. No, actually, it's going to be a bit of a dummy thrown by the 88, but looks like the 58 of Kyle Vincent Gilbert and Eric Gary as well are going to come down pit road on lap number 3.
Yeah, and here they come, and, you know, again, you know, that just goes along with trying to keep everything that you got. Obviously, we're going to see what kind of strategy they are going for, because it's a long race, it is, and you're going to have to come down maybe 1 or 2 stops, and they're all going to take 4 tires, or at least right sides, and some Sunoco racing fuel. So it looks like the left side's going to be jacked up as well. So 4 fresh Goodyears for Kyle, and he'll be on his way, as well as the other driver who went down, maybe trying to get to the back, Kelly.
That could also be the strategy, that to come down pit road just because you don't want to be up there involved in the front pack. There is maybe the few drivers that wanted to try to make a move, saw how racy everyone else was going to be, maybe got a little bit nervous. And this is a very long race. Well, not extremely long. It's still 200 miles. It's definitely not a distance to sneeze at. And with only 4 laps in of a 75-lap race, it's still there's still a lot of racing to be done. And being back in the field, it's not going to mean you're going to be out of this race. It's a super speedway. Anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen and anything will happen at a super speedway, especially Talladega. This is where we usually see the most carnage going on. You know, Daytona, it's kind of more tame, but Talladega, it's no holds barred, and these guys will be doing anything and everything. Now, one thing that I did notice was the 73 of Kevin Foster. He needed to get on his high horse early on, and he kind of let a little bit of separation get between him, and Travis Brown, and then Gilbert in front of him, so he needs to get up a little bit closer to them if he wants to get a little train going. That's how Dalton Kilroy was able to get that lead, Kelly.
Yeah, Dalton Kilroy just showed that the outside line may not be the fastest right off the start, but if you can get a run going, that outside line is going to be moving, and that's going to prove to be definitely make this an interesting race. Sometimes some of the cars, I think the Cup cars, a lot of times the bottom line is going to be a lot more dominant. It takes a lot of people to get that outside line moving, but we saw there just on the last run, the first lap, and suddenly you've got 4 cars on the outside against 3 cars on the inside, and you've got those outside line. You've got that outside line absolutely moving. So these drivers now knowing that that outside line is going to be an option, maybe they might be a bit more racy, knowing that they've got a chance to make a move for the lead even right off the bat. Yeah,
absolutely, and you know, these guys know that this is going to be a long race, and I'm sure they don't like to be pacing around all that much because it is going to take a while. It's about excuse me, let me find the times, about 2.5 minutes around this at pace speed. So, you know, it's 75 laps, and if, you know, obviously we do have a high car count, so that does kind of impede us for a bit of cautions here and there. So, you know, obviously start of this race, I'm sure these guys do not want to be going this slow, especially at a track like this with high speeds, Kelly.
Yeah, it's definitely a very large track, and it takes a long time to get around when you're going only 70 miles an hour compared to the, you know, the much faster speeds you get up to when you're in the draft. But it's just the nature of this track, and it's very similar to Pocono, another large track where a single caution can feel like it takes absolutely forever, and just cruising around this track for about 3 or 4 laps at this speed and can be a little bit grating on a driver. But that's also another thing that may factor into this. Some guys get a little bit antsy as they wait for this long caution period to end, and as soon as that green flag flies, they may just push a little bit too hard as they try to get there. They get a little overexcited, to say.
Yeah, a little overexcited, and you know, obviously this is you know, I think the first race on a track like this, so you know, you do have to fill yourself out. You do have to find out who you're going to be racing with. Obviously, you guys go into a race such as this and try to qualify next to each other. Obviously, you know, sometimes that's not the case, so you're going to have to adjust to your plan and adjust to how you're going to be taking these corners, adjust to who you're going to be working with, and try to figure out how each and every single one of these guys run. Because if you get tapped in the wrong area just a little bit, obviously you're going to go around and your night's going to be over.
Well, the Weregonnalose 200 is brought to you by Weregonnalose, your #1 source for reactions. I believe you can check those guys out on YouTube at Weregonnalose. Well, I believe the pace car lights are going to turn off, and next time they cross the line, drivers are already starting to get stacked double file. We'll have to see what the outside line is going to do. Is now Travis Brown, after starting on the inside on the initial green, he's going to be starting in that second spot on the outside. And I think what kind of did him in was the jump that he got. You don't really want to get a jump on the rest of the field at a super speedway, as the guys behind you are already going to get a bit of a more momentum as they'll be on the draft right off the bat. Well, you might have a bit of a gap behind you. For a lot of people, it's just wait until that green flag flies and hope that you get a bit of a stack up behind you to help push you. But at the same time, you don't want to wait too long, because if you don't go when that green flag drops, you'll get too much of a stack up and you'll probably cause a pileup behind you. So starting at a super speedway is a bit of a tricky thing.
Yeah, and you know, it goes hand in hand, and you know, we'll see how this all works out. Again, it is the great equalizer here, because you know, you're trying to survive, and you know, you sometimes things do happen in a race such as this. You know, you're a little bit further, a few rows back from where the accident does happen, but you're going such fast speeds, it's hard to slow down and avoid this wreck in front of you. So eventually you do get caught up, and it's a very unfortunate end to your day. So you just got to be so aware, and you just got to get so lucky from time to time here, Kelly.
You had a little bit of luck comes into the super speedways. You can be fast, but if you have a little bit of bad luck go your way, that's going to be spell the end of your night. And at the same time, you could be a little bit on the slower side, but you get a big wreck in front of you and somehow a gap just opens up for you, you could suddenly find yourself towards the front of the field. So a little bit of skill involved in the super speedway, a little bit of luck, and a little bit of knowledge as well, because you have to know exactly how to work the draft to be able to be successful here.
Yeah, the draft is a very, very big part of this racing surface. So, you know, you got to find somebody to work with, and you got to be able to work with them well. Because if you lose that draft, or if somebody loses the draft to you, it's going to be a long night for you and that person, because, you know, this is such a track where you need that draft to be a threat. And you saw that happen already with Dalton early on in this race. He got worked up with 3 or 4 cars and was able to pass a 2.5 car pack in front of him. So, you know, the more cars, obviously, the faster you're going to go as a pace car ducks down pit road, Kelly.
Pace car down and away, and we begin our long run to the start-finish line once more. A few of these drivers starting to stack up, trying to figure out where they're going to go and figure out when that 88 machine is going to get on the throttle. Going to get ready. You know, the 19 actually already getting a bit of a jump and giving the 88 of Dalton Kilrow a bit of a shot there. That looks like it possibly damaged the rear end of the 88. That did damage the rear end of the 88. So a little bit of damage between a couple of our front runners as we went to the green flag, as the 19 tried to get a bit of a jump and gave a good shot to the rear end of Dalton Kilrow.
Yeah, and you know, you maybe just get a little bit too antsy, so that does bring out a 4-car breakaway so far. Now the 3 of Scott Merritt, bringing on the number 73 of Kevin Foster, and I believe it's 64 of Joseph as well. So now they're all starting to come back into the pack. So, you know, just maybe a little bit of a jump start from the 19. Obviously, getting a little overzealous on that restart, maybe trying to get a little bit of a shove to get probably start running away with it. But now the number 3 of Scott Merritt going to force it 3 wide for second. Kevin Foster following quick behind, trying to take that lead away from Dylan.
Travis Brown left with no one to work with in that middle line as we continue to go 3 wide for the race lead here, as that 3 of Scott Merritt and the rest of his pack on the outside. They're starting to get some momentum, but they're not having the best run on the very top side. It looks like the middle line may be the more dominant line. Look at the 01 holding off all on his own. He's got no one in front of him, no one behind him, just working the side draft to be able to keep up with these guys and running a very smooth steering wheel to keep his race speed up. And he is just still fighting to hold on. He does not want to lose momentum, because if he does, there's a lot of cars just nose to tail with no gaps for him to slip into. And there goes the 19, that 88. They've got themselves a bit of momentum now, as that 3 car, his pack on that high side, have started to lose their momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, once that stalls out, it's a very unfortunate set of circumstances. And now Travis Brown going to be able to go to the front, and we do have a caution out on the speed.
Caution on the racetrack, gonna find where that is. It looks to be William Lewis and a few others involved coming out of the tri-oval. Looks like that 04 machine was running a little slow, a little bit damaged, got hooked by the 49 and into right into the door of that 86 machine of Terry Foster, causing a bit of a pileup in the back of the field coming across the start-finish line. Looks to get another wreck that will involve about 4 cars. Number of cars had to scatter, the little back markers had to scatter to get around these spinning good drivers. But beautiful damage, but looks like everyone was able to keep rolling, so they'll be able to come back around, get their faster pair, and possibly stay on their lead lap.
Yeah, fortunately this is a wide track, so you do have a little bit of chance to you know, get around each other using the little bit of runoff room that you do have. So props to that. It made a lot of people able to miss it, but you know, running that close together, all you have to do is sneeze or hiccup and you're going to be into that other car above you or below you. So got to watch out for that. Got to be very conservative, got to be very careful running around here at these high speeds on the high banks of Talladega.
Something to look at after that last run was we got to see what that 3rd line is going to look like, and we saw that the outside, well, which basically would be the middle line, we saw that they were going to be we thought they were going to be quite fast after the first green flag stint there, but we saw the other group try to go all the way up to the wall in that 3rd lane on the outside, and they weren't able to quite get the momentum that we saw in the middle line. And we saw the 01 machine in the middle lane be able to hold his own all on his own. So it may be that that middle lane is faster, but that very far outside isn't going to be really the place to be.
Yeah, and, you know, watching him hold off everybody in that middle lane, that was pretty cool. Probably using a little bit of a side draft to help, you know, stall out the cars below and in front of him and help use them to propel forward. But, you know, it was pretty cool to see that, and, you know, we'll see how it all works out. We'll see how this track does come in for these next 60 laps or so. I can't do math here, Kelly.
Well, this race is put on by the Blazing Pedals Racing League. If you're looking for a serious and fun league, look no further. Blazing Pedals has that to offer. It's a free-to-join league that runs 10 race season in the K&N car every Sunday. They run only fixed setups and a minimum of 100-mile races. And at the end of each season, a $50 purse will be awarded to the top 3 in points. If you'd like to apply to this league, please visit blazingpedals.weebly.com to sign up. And that is something we talked about, is that $50 purse. There's a few drivers still battling it out, trying to hold or put themselves into one of those money-paying spots there. As first and second seem to be kind of locked in, but there's still a battle for that third and final money-paying spot.
Yeah, and, you know, money is, you know, it does a lot of things to people, and, you know, you gotta love money, especially doing it something that you do love, especially on iRacing. And, you know, you gotta love just having these little leagues up on here and seeing the kind of competition that we do have on series such as this one and tracks such as this one. Right now we do have 32 cars on the lead lap. We saw Travis Brown go down pit road, or you did. So we'll have to see how that works out. And the number 19 of Ryan will be starting on that outside of P2, so he will not be able to jump up and get a little boot to the number 88 of Dalton. So we'll have to see how the 92 does in third place.
Trying to take a look at the nose of the 19. There was a bit of damage to the rear end of the 88, so I'm wondering how that, if this doesn't look to be that much damage to the front of the 19, it does look like it's a little bit crinkled up though, so we're gonna have to see. He was running okay in the draft of that 88 machine, but now that he's gonna be in clean air on his own, you've got to wonder if that aerodynamic damage is gonna help or hinder him quite a bit. And because you may get the damage to the front end can kind of be negated when you're pushing someone, because you're not really going to have much air hitting the front end of your car. But sometimes while you maybe find the draft, you get up to try to lead a line on your own, and it's like dumping a parachute out. It feels like you just hit a brick wall of wind, and suddenly your car is going to be dropping to the back. So we'll have to keep an eye on the 19 and that outside line, because if he's going to have troubles getting up to speed, that may cause the outside line to get stacked up a little bit and maybe cause problems further back in the field.
Yeah, and, you know, aerodynamics is such a big factor. Again, another trait for Talladega. You know, you do need aerodynamics, because the draft does get upset if you do not have that perfect car, pristine car, and, you know, it does get a little bit messed up here and there from bumping. So, you know, it's going to get a little bit wild.
Yes, this next green flag run could get quite wild here tonight, so it's gonna be interesting to keep an eye on the field as we get ready to go another time around, I guess, until we get ready to go back to green. But maybe we may not know what's gonna happen with these guys. Like I mentioned, that outside line could suddenly get stacked up and could cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, and, you know, sometimes it's a little crazy here and there for tracks such as this. You know, so many traits to go off of here tonight at Talladega, Kelly. You know, I'm sure we've both raced here, and we both have different experiences here and there. You know, sometimes you do get caught up in wrecks, and sometimes you are able to make that last lap pass for victory. But, you know, fighting for that win, usually it's like 20 laps. Here we have 75, so, you know, it's going to get a little bit hectic here for these guys, and that's where we're seeing a little bit of cautions here and there tonight, because, you know, it does tend to get a little bit crazy. You know, these guys don't know how, like, the other guys are going to be reacting to them, because, you know, bump drafting here, and, you know, bump drafting with such weird noses, and if you do get a little bit more aerodynamic damage on that nose, it makes it that much harder to bump the man in front of you, Kelly.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much bump drafting just yet, and that might be something that these drivers are leaving till the end of the race. They may know that just the risks that are involved in the bump draft in these cars. You have to be going pretty much perfectly straight. Both cars have to be going perfectly straight, and it has to be a very gradual bump, because if you just slam right into that car in front of you, you're not only going to damage your car and their car, but you might send that other car spinning, and really that's just going to be kind of the opposite of what you're wanting to do with a bump draft.
Yeah, and you just got to be careful with a bump draft every single time, and just make sure that you hit them square dead on that bumper and don't cause any damage, and obviously do not spin them into the outside wall or inside wall, because it does not work out that well, as we've seen before here in these previous 2 cautions.
Well, the last couple cautions seem to have been caused by drivers just thinking they were clear of the other cars, and maybe not quite realizing that they weren't quite clear, and maybe just not really knowing the corners of their car, not exactly knowing the exact length of the car nose. You may think that you're going to be clear, you're going to be able to slip right down behind the car in front of you, but maybe that when you go to move, you start to hook the other driver, and once you've hooked onto them, usually it's a little bit hard to recover from that. That's what caused or at least what caused our first caution.
Yeah, and sometimes your spotter does get a little bit messed up. He does stay clear when you obviously are not clear. It's happened to at least everybody here on the Sims, so you got to be mindful of that, and you got to know when you're actually clear. If you start to see a car to your left and he's obviously got the door to you, you're not clear. So you just got to be ready for that and not make any drastic moves. So we'll see how this all works out, as the number 88 going to be starting up on that top side, Kelly.
Yeah, it looks like a bit of a choice for the lane position. That's going to go to the high line, and that's definitely an interesting choice. Most of the time, a lot of drivers prefer the inside line all around super speedways, but Dalton knows the advantages and the perks of that outside line, and looks like he's wanted to cut it off before we even get a chance to build it up, and that may prove interesting. Some drivers may not want to work with him and may suddenly go to the 3rd lane, but we saw earlier that 3rd lane doesn't really work, so it's going to be a couple questions going to be raised before to be answered soon by the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, and we'll see how these guys all work out with each other, and see how these guys hook up. And we've seen a lot of shuffling going up in here, and now register do know that Travis Brown did take a pit stop here, so we'll have to see how he works through his way through the field.
Yeah, the 19 hanging back just a little bit on this green flag run. Green flag in the air, and looked like the 88 had no one beside him. It was almost like he was in a row by himself. Looks like the 19 dropping back already. Corey Sherman getting a good jump as well. He's going to get clear into that 2nd position, and those 2 drivers are going to move down into the line together, as got a bit of a 4-car pack on the bottom side, and actually Dalton's a little bit farther ahead of those guys, and they're starting to build up some momentum compared to that 88 machine.
Yeah, and the first separation is between, I believe, Scott Merritt and Joseph Strobel, so we'll have to watch for that. Now we have 2 cars going up on that high side in that first set. That's going to be the number 92 of Blake Decker and the number 16 of Ian Heavy.
Yeah, look at that high side. Blake Decker's trying to get that momentum going, and he's got himself a little bit of help. It looks like the 66 diving to the pit road, and possibly Corey Sherman got himself a black flag. I don't see any other reason why he would suddenly make a green flag stop, but he's down and away, and now it looks like this 92 is going to get the official lap led here. Now that high line is starting to bunch themselves up, and they're going to start getting some momentum here shortly.
I think what happened was on that restart, the number 19 hung back a little bit too much, and the 66 passed him unintentionally, and that brought him that black flag. That's really the only thing that I can see that happened, but we'll have to wait for further development.
And it seems like that's not going to be able to be changed. Unfortunate circumstances for that 66 machine, but he's still got a lot of time to hopefully make up that position. And Now looking, that high side is not got any momentum any longer, as the inside line is now the line to be. As you see the 92 machine dive down to the inside. He's trying to actually decide which way he wants to go. Now look at the number 3 of Scott Merritt. He's going to move to the outside. He wants the challenge for the race lead.
And Kevin Foster had gone back a little bit, and now he's back up inside that top 5, challenging for the top 3, trying to get up to that back bumper of the 19. And we'll see how this all works out. The number 3 of Scott Merritt getting hung out, or not hung out to dry, but a little bit of stalling for that number 92 to get to his back bumper. You know, just great fighting going on right now.
Yeah, got a lot of good battling in that outside line, trying to build up some momentum once more to catch up to that bottom line that's now a lot more tightly packed and a lot more, a little bit of a bump between the leaders there as the 19 trying to bump draft the 88, not square at all, and looked like he nearly turned that 88 of Dalton Kilrow. And so that was definitely a very close moment, and if a leader starts to wreck, then that usually causes the biggest pile up to really you can imagine at this racetrack. Is suddenly you've got a lot of cars with nowhere to go. And look at that number 3 machine. He's starting to get that momentum rolling. He's starting to try to make a challenge on that outside line. As the 90, he's got a little bit of help from the 92 machine, getting a little bit of a bump going down the back straightaway. But that inside line is also about bump drafting as well to try to keep the outside line at bay.
Yeah, and you know, that's just great strategy done by all of these guys. We're about to see how this all works out for them. We're keeping it green for more than 2 laps, which is great to see these guys hook up and start to run a little bit harder. And you know, we can see how these guys are all going to work out. The number 3 of Scott Merritt going to let the 92 go in front of him, so we'll see where he follows back into the line. The number 73 getting above that number 92, so close, getting every bit of the draft. The number 92 can get that to Blake Decker. And you know, the 16 of Ian Hibbing is right behind him, trying to get everything that he can as well. The number 34, Jordan Berry, also on that top line, Kelly.
Yeah, I got David Dodd there starting to lead a 3rd lineup. Here comes the number 3. He gets into the wall. Bit of a problems from the number 3, and the big wreck in the field is the number 3 gets into the wall and causes a few drivers just get jumbled up together and wrecking in the back of the pack. Opportunity to take a step aside for a moment, but don't go anywhere. You're watching the Weregonnalose 200 for the Blazing Pedals Racing Series on LSR TV.
#1 source for reactions online.
You dirty mother... Very sorry, I sneezed again. Yeah, very sorry, you do the same thing every race. You'll get posted on Facebook. I'm gonna make sure everybody kicks you out of the lobby. You will not be able to race in anybody's lobby. He's about to do it again. He just... Jesus. Yep, you're losing your iRacing now. Sorry guys, I'm really freaking tired, man. I gotta get off here. Seriously, what the fuck? Are you a renegade? Over. Team advise, this is not a renegade. Tango down.
What the fuck are you doing?
Oh, he just rushed again, back in the wall. Yeah, he's a fucking idiot. Yeah, that last one was probably my fault because I sneezed.
Subscribe to We're Gonna Lose and become a renegade forever.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulator test driver.
Magnussen is 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
That's faster than the factory McLaren driver, and he's done 6 laps.
Let's go race.
Welcome back to the Talladega Super Speedway for the We're Gonna Lose 200 for the Blazing Pedals Racing Series, where Dalton Kilbrough is continuing to lead the field at once again, he's choosing to restart on that outside line, and it worked well enough for him last time, but you got to wonder, is the 19 of Ryan Wachlewski going to challenge him a bit more this time, or was Wachlewski going to, like last time, hang back a little bit and just kind of allow that 88 machine to drop in line in front of him so he can just kind of cruise along in that draft?
Yeah, and you just got to think, how these drivers are going to work out. We've had 3 wrecks already in the first 20 laps, so these guys need to start getting a little bit more, knowing that there are a lot more laps to go here tonight. These guys need to get a little less aggressive, because we've seen what happens when drivers do indeed get aggressive. They do go around. So it's got to be a little bit more settled down. Got to have that pace on you and get ready to go for a lot more laps here at Talladega.
Well, the outside line is not very packed up together, which could spell a bit of trouble for that outside line once we go green, and pace car now just gapping itself to the field a little bit before diving down pit road. And now these drivers are starting to bunch up just a little bit more as we continue that run towards the start-finish line and towards the green flag. The outside line starting now actually to bunch up, and that is going to be a bit better for them for this once we get going. And really, the gaps are something you're not going to want to have, and Dalton is going to jump away right off the bat. Green flag back in the air, and he's going to get clear of that 19 machine before we even take the start-finish line, and that's going to allow him to dive down to that inside line, as it looks like a lot of the front of the field is going to go to the inside to just try to build up their momentum before they start trying to make some moves here. It looks like we're actually getting a little bit of tandems here. It looks like we've got about 3 or 4 within the first group of cars.
Yeah, and it was a little bit more spread out than I thought we would have a restart, but these guys, knowing that they do have a lot of laps left, I'm sure they're starting to get a little bit more settled down, a little bit more dialed in. And just as I say, that number 92 of Blake Decker and the 01 of Travis Brown that we saw back in the pack because he did pit, they're challenging for that race lead. Ooh, a little bit of contact between the number 19 and the 01. So close, way to keep it together. Did not even go around, which was fantastic racing done by these guys, Travis Brown and the number 19, trying to get everything that they could get between each other. And now the number 92 of Blake Decker.
Decker getting really close to getting the official lap led there, and still trying to push on that outside line with the help of the 01 of Travis Brown. And a little bit difficult for them, as it looks like that 19 is kind of waving off that yellow line throughout the corners, and that's causing the 92 and the 01 to kind of try to go up a little bit more on the hill to keep away from him and give him a bit more space. Behind this pack of 4, the rest of the field is starting to stack up, and if they can get momentum, they'll start being able to catch up to these guys. Look at that 19. Oh, we got a spin back in the field. I saw one car go around. We're going to have to take a look if anyone else went around as well, but looked like a car coming off of the corner on the inside just kind of got turned, and around he went. Going to take a look at that. It's Fabio Diaz, the 99 machine, getting hooked on the inside by Ian Habuik. You get a replay up on your screen as they're coming into turn number 4. He just got spun right around and slid back up onto the racetrack, but I think it might have been just that one car going around. I think everyone might have been able to avoid that spinning race car, and there's going to be a little bit of damage to the front of, to the 99 machine, but all in all, I think we avoided what could have been a very nasty wreck.
Yeah, way to go, everybody in the back. We just, say, when you're further back, you're going that speed and you're already committed towards the line, and you see a car spinning every which way. It's so hard to see, and just seeing how these guys were bumping, you're getting a great look on the back of Fabio's car right here, and you're trying so hard to do things, and maybe you just get a little bit of a tap in the wrong direction. Maybe you're going a little bit too fast for that driver to handle a little bit of a bump in the corner, or maybe his screen just went out. We do not know. It's just a lot of variables that go into every single wreck that does happen here at Talladega.
And really, that wreck could have been a lot worse than it really ended up being, as that 99 machine just kind of was lucky to not slide back up on the track too far. He did slide up, but only on the inside line, and everyone had seen the car starting to spin, so they got themselves out of the way and kept away from that machine that was really could have been a wrecking ball for the rest of the field. But I think the only one involved really was that at least the only one to take too much damage was that 99 machine, and now he's going to come down pit road with a number of other drivers to get a little bit of service. He can use that fast repair if he wishes, and he'll be able to keep himself in the hunt for this race.
Yeah, and you know, every single driver is just trying to get so much a little bit too early. You know, these drivers have a lot of laps to go. We're only on lap 25. And, you know, every single driver obviously wants to get to the front. They're trying to do everything that they can, trying to push every single inch that they can. And, you know, sometimes drivers just can't handle it into the corners. And sometimes they do go around, especially with the front ends like this. That's going to be a big talking point here tonight, Kelly. You know, you have a different kind of front end that you need to be wary of. And every single time you push someone, you got to make sure it's just right. And it's just got to be so careful in every single sense of it.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to just kind of give him maybe a bit of a push, but really bump drafting in the straightaways is one thing. Bump drafting in the corners is a very difficult thing, and it didn't help that car was not quite lined up. Again, we've seen a couple of guys that just maybe didn't quite know how long the nose of these cars were and kind of underestimated where they were on the track and thought maybe they were clear, and maybe he just didn't realize that he was about to bump that 99 machine, and that's what ended up causing the wreck in the end. But we're under caution for, I think, what will be the fourth time now, but still got a lot of time left in this race as we're only 26 laps in of a 75-lap race.
I thought we were like 7 cautions in, Kelly. But, you know, it's going to be one of those nights. You know, obviously we do have here at Talladega Super Speedway, it's going to get a little bit wild, and you got to love wildness here. And, you know, this racing is going to put on such a great show if you love wrecking. So, you know, stay here. We've already had a car upside down, so that counts at 1. We'll have to see how many more cars go upside down, Kelly.
Well, the Weregonnalose 200 is brought to you by Weregonnalose, your #1 source for reactions. Go check them out on YouTube at Weregonnalose. And this race is put on by the Blazing Pedals Racing League. If you're looking for a serious and fun league, look no further. Blazing Pedals has that to offer. It's a free-to-join league that runs a 10-race season with a K&N car every Sunday. They run only fixed setups and a minimum of 100-mile races. At the end of each season, a $50 purse will be rewarded to the top 3 in points. If you would like to apply to the league, visit blazingpedals.weebly.com to sign up. Well, one of the things we haven't been able to see yet is a long run, and we don't know if how these drivers, who's going to really excel in the long run. We've seen a few drivers that are a bit quicker in that short run, and that is Dalton Kilroe. He's been able to work the draft really well in these short little sprints, but if we get into a long green flag stretch, we don't know if maybe another driver will be able to really excel in these cars. And if this race does go long enough, it's possible we could see some green flag stops, and that's probably one of the most difficult things you can do on a super speedway.
And, you know, we are 41 minutes into this race. We are not even to lap 30, and we do have a limit of hour and 55 minutes. So, you know, as this time does wear down, that might become a factor, because we might actually hit 1 hour and 55 minutes before this 75 laps is up if we go to this, we keep on doing this pace. But we'll have to see how this works out. We'll have to keep an eye on that, and we'll see.
Well, we continue to slowly work our way around this track at 70 miles an hour, and this track doesn't seem too big when you're cruising around it at 180 to 200 miles an hour, but you start to realize just how massive Talladega is when you're kind of puttering around this behind the pace car. 2.66 miles, and those 2 miles really fly by when you're screaming along at the peak of these cars' performance. But at this moment, a lot of these drivers are probably just itching to get back going.
Yeah, I'm sure, you know, Dalton and Ryan, they've been up towards the front a lot, and Dalton, you know, with that back end damage, I'm sure he's loving seeing these cautions, because, you know, doing more laps than 2 probably will put him a little bit further into the back. So, you know, we'll have to see how this works out for him, and we'll have to see how everything goes. Yeah,
as you mentioned, Dalton definitely will want to see these cautions, because I mean, when you're under yellow, there's no one that can really challenge him for his race lead, and he just kind of gets some free laps led. As he's led pretty much every lap of this race so far, as he started in 4th, but by the time that first lap was finished, he'd already gained that momentum on the high side and was able to make the run and just barely beat out the pole sitter of Travis Brown for the race lead. And speaking of Travis Brown, he's, I think, pit once more as he's suddenly all the way back in 21st. As we've seen him do that once before, as he pit earlier on, and we know that he's got the speed. He's been able to work his way up through the field before, and we'll have to see if he'll be able to do it once more as lights are out on the pace car, and we'll be ready to go back to green once more.
Yeah, and you know, you just gotta love these green flag laps. You know, it's gonna be a lot of fun watching these guys race and watching these guys do what they do best, and that's race around this 2.66 mile track. Kelly, you know, everything has a little bit different set of circumstances here, and you know, it's gonna get a little bit wild, and it's gonna be a lot of fun to see these guys work and, you know, see how this all works out for them. You know, it's gonna get a little bit wild, and we'll have to see how the next few laps bring for us. We'll see if these guys actually make it more than 2 laps.
Well, Dalton Kilroe has decided to take the outside line once more as the field is starting to stack up behind him, and we'll see if Ryan Wasilewski lets him in once more, if he's going to try to maybe try to defend that inside line and try to take the lead for himself. But lately it's been looking like Wasilewski just kind of wants to help that 88 machine around and kind of just be the pusher in the front of the field.
Yeah, and you know, we'll see if anybody else also goes upside down, because that's a lot of fun also to keep track of, especially at a track such as this where you have such high speeds, and you know, these guys have a little bit of trouble keeping it straight, which is, you know, expected here. You know, it's a tough track to keep your car straight. It's a tough track to keep your wheels straight at, and you know, obviously you do like to go into the wall sometimes, especially with these kinds of cars. So as we take another stab at a restart, we'll see how they work out.
All pace cars down and away, and we're getting ready to go once more. Field is starting to bunch up behind that 88 machine as he leads the field down towards the green flag once more. Gets a bit of a jump ahead, and he's going to get back rolling forward to green flag. And again, Dalton Kilroe is going to hold off for a moment, but he is going to eventually move down to that inside line as we are going once more, and we'll see how far we get this time around. Looking at the inside line, looks like Blake Decker getting a bit of a run, helping push that 19 machine, and that's going to cause the 73 of Kevin Foster have to drop back into 4th place. Bit of a bump between the 19 and the 88 as they're trying to get that momentum up as fast as possible, as that 92's of Blake Decker already trying to take a peek to the outside and trying to see if anyone's going to come with him. Looked like that 73 was wanting to help him, but he's going to go back in the line as looks like the entire field is single file at the moment.
Yeah, and you know, it's great to see this, because you know, that just knows that you're just getting wound up, you're getting ready for, you know, a great run to come out on the outside, or maybe even 2 more cars on the outside of you. So you gotta love that kind of racing going on. The number 9 working its way behind the number 88, the number 92 of Blake Decker. Again, always seeing him go out on that top side first. Kelly, will see if the number 73 of Kevin Foster will go behind him. No, he's gonna leave him out to dry to gain that 3rd position for free. I don't see anybody else going out there, Kelly.
Yeah, unfortunately, no one decided to come up with Blake Decker this time around, and he just hits a wall of air and is just dropping like a rock now as he gets freight trained on that inside line as 5 cars go screaming past him, and there's still nowhere for him to go, as that 73 machine now is going to be kind of leading the other group that is maybe going to challenge this tandem of the 88 and 19 up front.
Yeah, and you know, it's one of those risks that you take when you hop out of line. You know, you got to make sure that people are going. You can't just go out on your own and assume people are going to follow you, because if you're doing that, obviously what just happened to Blake Decker is going to happen to you. So you got to make sure that you're having somebody to work with, and that will move Kevin Foster into that 3rd position, right behind the number 19 of Ryan, and in front.
Oh, spin back in the field. Bill Green as the car goes spinning to the inside under the yellow line, and now they're going to be wrecking the field. Caution is out, and we got another car flipping over. That's Terry Foster.
Put the count to 2, Kelly.
Yeah, it looks like we had this started with coming off of turn number 2 as Jeffrey Patterson got spun and went spinning off into the inside. We stayed green though as he was under the yellow line, but then back in the field, he kind of just comes right back up on the racetrack. As I don't know if he just didn't lock up the tires or what, but that car came screaming right back on the racing surface and left that number 30 or the number 86 of Terry Foster nowhere to go. He slammed hard into that car and ended up going up into the wall. And actually, I don't think he ended up on his roof. He ended up, he was wobbling as he spun, but that car did stay shiny side up.
Now, get me off side, Kelly. Take that one off. But it's really hard to see this, and this guy might have been driving backwards for all we know. And type F in chat to pay respects for that guy that got involved. Very unfortunate end to his night. But again, we do have the faster pair left in their back pocket, so we'll see how it works out for him.
Well, 32 laps down, and I think we're on to, if my count is correct, the 5th caution of the race, and that has just been stretching out this race. As we're down to pretty much an hour left on our time limit. As we have it's a 75 lap race. However, there's an hour and 55 minute time limit, and we're 10 seconds off from being 55 minutes into this race. So if this continues, this may be a timed race and not a lap race.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things here at a track like this. We do have that timer, and it has come effect when we do have other series here. We've seen it before, and we might see it tonight with 5 cautions and 30 laps. So wouldn't be surprised if they pulled it out of their back pocket real quick.
Yeah, we're just going to have to keep an eye on this timer, and it really will change the dynamic when the race becomes a timed race compared to a lap race. Is you may not know, with a lap race, you know exactly how many laps you're going to do, but with a time race, you never know. You might have to change up your fuel and tire strategy, and you might have to just kind of gamble on things a little bit more with you. Because you may be going a certain speed on as we mentioned, we go about 49 seconds per 4 lap when we're green, but when you're under caution, you're doing 2 minutes 28, 2 minutes 30 for a lap, and then it definitely changes the amount of laps we'll be finishing if this becomes a timed race.
Yeah, and it does bring a little bit of light into the driver's head. We gotta watch out, because 30 laps in an hour, and it's over 60 laps. So if you think about, again, another 30 laps in another hour, you'll be out of time. So this will be less than what we have scheduled here. So these drivers need to realize that, and they might even make it, if they're lucky, to 60 laps. So kind of need to change up that pit strategy a little bit. And Travis Brown obviously doing a little bit of different strategy here and there. We've seen him deploy his trips down pit road, starting first, obviously, and we'll see how it works out. He has been in other series that we've seen here on LSR TV, and we've seen him dominate a couple. So we'll see how this works out for him.
The real one to watch is Dalton Kilroe and Ryan Washleski. Those guys have been working together throughout the entirety of this race, and they're working well together, pretty much tandeming at the front of the field as that 19 is pushing the 88 as hard as he can. And they've just been unbeatable so far. We've seen a couple of people challenge them, but they haven't been able to do enough to be able to take that lead away from that 88 machine.
Yeah, and they really have done everything that they can, and obviously the damage to the back end of the 88 that he got earlier from the 19 really has not impeded him that much. So great job to him for keeping it all up on the line. And I believe, no, he has not gotten it repaired. I was going to take a double look at it because I know they had been down pit road, but it seems like it wasn't being too much of a factor towards him. So that we're going to lose a little sponsorship that he has on that back end is still there. So we'll have to see how it works out for him.
Yeah, we've seen the 19. We thought we may have been we thought the damage to the front of the 19 and the back of the 88 was going to affect them, but so far they've shown no sign of slowing down, even with the really the caved-in rear end of that 88 machine. It hasn't really affected him all that much, but at the same time, it's they've just been working together so well and pushing so hard that if there is any downfall from that damage, the 19 has been doing his best to be able to make up for it just by pushing that 88 as hard as he can. And still, like I mentioned, we've seen nobody be able to completely challenge and pass the 88. We've seen a few guys attempt it, but they haven't been able to build up the momentum just enough quite yet to be able to make that pass.
Momentum is what you need here at Talladega. Momentum is such a big part of this race and such a big part of pack racing. So we'll have to see how it all works out. And you know, these drivers are obviously trying to get everything that they can in 2 laps. So it's a hard charge to the front, if I do say so myself.
Well, we're just about hitting that halfway point, so it's going to be time for our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game, with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and many, many more. Well, leading the field right now is Dalton Kilroe. Behind him, Ryan Washleski sitting in 3rd at the moment. That's a 73 of Kevin Foster. Ian Habuik still sitting in 4th, making a good charge up from 13th, along with Bill Harkins, who's come from 19th, and Travis McChesney, who's come from 22nd all the way up into 6th. Blake Decker sits in 7th at the moment. Tyler Rowland in 8th. Jason Buonarosa in 9th. 10th is currently Jose Padro.
Cody Wynn working his way up from 23rd into 11th position. Scott Merritt we've seen up in the front a little bit in the 12th position. 13th going to go to Noah Van Hoot. 14th all the way up from 33rd position will be Kyle Krasinski. Joseph Strobel will be 15th. 16th will be David Dodd. 17th will be Jordan Berry. 18th will be Brandon Dennis. Scott Hayes will be 19th. And 20th will be William Lewis.
Travis Brown dropping all the way from pole to 21st. 22nd is that second place qualifier, Kyle Vincent Gilbert. 23rd, Eric Gary. Fabio Diaz in 24th. 25th is Wesley Johnson. 26th, Brian Dees. Jeremy Funk sitting in 27th. 28th is Jeffrey Patterson. Ashton Schleiss sitting in 29th and sitting in 30th. And the last car on the lead lap, that's the 12 of Mark Arthur.
31st will be Corey Sherman. 32nd, and these guys 31st on down will be laps down. 32nd, Terry Condas. Arthur Floyd, 33rd. 34th will be Brett Guzik. 35th, Michael Rinko. 36th will be Bryce Lewis. Terry Foster, 37th. And rounding out your 38-car field to take the grid will be Taylor Fay.
Well, lights are out on the pace car. We're getting double stacked once more, and hopefully we're going to what would I hope to be a long green flag run. We haven't seen any green flag run longer than 5 laps yet, so we haven't seen if any drivers have any long haul cars out there. We've only seen these short sprints, and so far the Dalton Kilroe and Ryan Washleski have dominated those short sprints, because a lot of the other drivers are kind of fighting among themselves and can't quite group up enough to take on this tandem on the front.
Yeah, and you know, these drivers need to settle in. You know, if they want a green flag run, they need to settle in and get ready to, you know, run races here, and be careful with when they're pushing and how they're pushing, because if you're going to be pushing someone in the corner, obviously we've seen somebody who hasn't been able to do so, and you know, it gets a little bit dicey right there. That's where we've seen some wrecks from tonight, and you just can't drive backward going on the racetrack here, Kelly.
Well, the pace car is down and away. We begin that long run down to the start-finish line. Again, Talladega has the start-finish line after the tri-oval, but Dalton Kilroe usually gets that car fired in a moment here, and there he goes right as the green flag flies. As he's going to get a bit of a gap to that 19, and we'll see if once again he will drop down in between, and so will Ian Habuik. Going to drop right behind that 19 machine as all these drivers go to the inside line to get their momentum up on that long drafting line before they start trying to fight for position.
And you know, getting a little great bit of single file action here. The number 92 is going to be staying in line for the most part. He's starting to look a little bit high, as well as the number 35. I believe that's Tyler Rowland going up high with Blake Decker, so we'll have to see how they do as well. And that's a little bit of back end damage to the 85. of Travis McChesney. So we'll have to see how that works out. That's right next to the number 11 of Bill Harkins, working up on that right side of him, trying to get everything that they can out of those two machines. Well, they might need a little bit more than two to get something done, but they're doing everything that they can.
Yeah, they want to get that outside roll, and they had a bit of a run going down the front straightaway there, but if they can get another couple cars up with them, I'm sure they will be able to challenge for that race lead. Looks like that Ian kind of thought about going with them for a second, but now they're already square up to that third place car, and they're continuing to run on that outside line. They've got a lot of momentum going now down the back straightaway, and going into turn number 3, they're going to now be, the 85 is now going to be pretty much square with that 19 machine. A little bit of an advantage to the inside line going through the corner, but now we'll have to keep an eye on that high side as we go down that long front straight. A bit of a kink in the middle with that tri-oval, but they aren't going to actually have momentum this time as the 92 machine had to back off a little bit, and we look at how sealed up that 19 is to the 88, nearly bump drafting him the entire way around. We haven't seen if these cars are going to have to deal with heating issues just yet, but if this goes on much longer, that 19 machine might start getting a little bit warm.
Yeah, and you know, obviously now that we got more than 3 laps into this race on a green flag run, you do have to start thinking of how your car is going to be overheating. And, you know, you have to make sure that you get air to your engine every now and again, or else, you know, you will have that black smoke as the blue car of the 93 goes up in front of the 11. Almost cuts him off, and very well done by the 11 of Bill Harkins to avoid getting another caution here tonight at Talladega. Done such a great job, and now he's going to have to catch up to the number 92 of Blake Decker to continue to make that high line stronger to challenge for that race lead.
Well, as I mentioned, these guys are fighting among themselves too much. They can't group up enough to get around the 88 machine. But now the rest of the field starting to stack up as we got a 3 wide a little bit further back in the field, but still it's going to be Dalton and Ryan are still continuing to hold off the field. But look at the 64, the 01 machine of Travis Brown. He's leading that charge on the outside line with a few other drivers. They've actually got some momentum. They're starting to make passes. We talked earlier that we didn't think that third line was going to have anything going as they were a little bit slower earlier on in the race, but now they're starting to group up a little bit, and that 01, the 26, and the 18, they're starting to make some moves towards the front.
They are starting to make some money moves towards the front, and caution.
Caution on the racetrack. Going to try to take a look at where that happened. Looks to be the tri-oval once more. Is it looks like the 55 machine getting pushed by the 99 coming through the tri-oval, just gets hooked by the 99 up into the 46, and that sends both those cars into the couple of cars that were on the high side, and big damage on the 55 and the 46, and hopefully those drivers will be able to get those cars back to the pit road. Looks like David Dodd, though, had to take a tow, and if he's already used his fast repair, that might be the end of his night.
Yeah, we've already had a couple of drivers retire from there, so, you know, see how that works out. But, you know, I'm glad they did wreck inside of the tri-oval, because I'd like to point out something on how challenging it is for these drivers to handle their cars side by side, bump drafting on that bottom lane of the tri-oval, because it's so hard to hold your own through a little bit of a bump on that bottom side. So, you know, great job done by all these guys, and I believe it's the second caution that's happened inside the tri-oval, so we'll have to see how this works out for them throughout the remainder of this race.
Well, as the caution flies for the 6th time, we're going to take a quick step aside for a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere. You're watching the Weregonnalose 200 at Talladega Superspeedway.
#1 source for reactions online.
You dirty mother... Very sorry, I sneezed again. Yeah, very sorry, you do the same thing every race. You're getting posted on Facebook. I'm gonna make sure everybody kicks you out of the lobby. You will not be able to race in anybody's lobby.
He's about to do it again. He just... Jesus. Yep, you're losing your iRacing now.
Sorry guys, I'm really freaking tired, man. I gotta get off here.
Seriously, what the fuck?
Are you a renegade? Over. Team advised, this is not a renegade. Tango down.
What the fuck are you doing?
Oh, he just rushed again, back hitting the wall.
Yeah, he's a fucking idiot. Yeah, that last one was probably my fault because I sneezed.
Subscribe to We're Gonna Lose and become a renegade forever.
So, you want to race in NASCAR. The road starts here. Introducing the eNASCAR Ignite Series powered by iRacing. This is the gateway for all aspiring 13 to 16-year-olds. Starting June 20th, ignite your dreams of one day racing in the top tiers of NASCAR. Go to www.iracing.com/ignite for full details.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulator test driver.
So there's 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
That's faster than the factory McLaren driver, and he's done 6 laps.
Welcome back to the Talladega Superspeedway for the Weregonnalose 200, brought to you by the Blazing Pedals Racing League. Lights are out on the pace car. We got the cars stacked up 2x2 once again, and we're going to get ready to go green, going to lap 45 out of 75. So we'll have about 31 laps to go once we get back to green flag racing, and hopefully we'll see a little bit longer of green flag stretches here, and maybe see a few drivers be able to build up momentum to take on that 88 and that 19 machine.
Yeah, these guys have been battling hard here all night long, and unfortunately that has caused for a couple of cautions here and there. But you know, you gotta love the passion from all these guys. Gotta love how these guys are racing hard and not really wanting to give an inch to each other, and knowing that money is on the line at the end of the season, Kelly.
Yeah, we still have a few drivers battling for that final payout spot. As mentioned, this league pays out the top 3 championship finishers, and there's still a battle going on for that 3rd place position. But now pace car is down and away. We're going to get ready to go back rolling green once more. Dalton Kilroe continues to lead the field as he's done so pretty much the entire night. Got a bit of a gap behind him, but he'll get to put the pedals to the floor, get a good jump, and try to get ahead of that 19 machine as he has these last few restarts, and will jump down to the bottom side and start to get working with that 19 machine once more.
Yeah, we've seen these drivers get single file here pretty quickly, but it's what's after that and what's behind them is what's causing all the issues here. We have rarely seen a caution caused from up front here, and Kevin Foster and the 26 car are battling hard. That's Eric Gary on that outside line. Now Blake Decker gonna come up behind Eric here and try to give him a little bit of a shove, and now everybody else is going up to that top side to get something done. Travis Brown goes around the car below him, and you know, just starting to move up a little bit top side and starting to get that little groove as Travis Brown. We've seen it happen earlier in this race. That middle line does work out for him, but the number, I believe that's the 26, that Eric Gacy, excuse me, working everything that he can.
Yeah, he tried to run his way up the middle. He had a lot of momentum, but as you mentioned, Eric Gary just kind of slammed the door shut on him, left him nowhere to go, and says if you want to move to the front, you're going to have to do so pushing me, because he wants to make a challenge for that race lead himself. As we've now got a few cars getting a bit of momentum, and now they're starting to maybe challenge that race lead this time. Now they're going to go almost even up into the turn number 3 here. This field is starting to get really jam-packed, and everyone's starting to draft really tightly now. And I'd expect to see Eric Gary possibly get that good run on the outside, possibly be able to get the race lead. Who's going to get the lap led? Looking like it's going to be the 88, and it will be. So another lap led to that 88 machine of Dalton Kilroe, but he's starting to maybe feel that pressure now from the 26 of Eric Gary and that outside line.
Yeah, Eric Gary getting such a great shove by Travis Brown, doing everything that he can, getting a little bit of a lag back in those turns, but down the straightaways, they just get so much power built up on that outside line. They're going to get shoving again. Travis Brown to that back bumper of Eric Gary to give him a shove. We'll see if they can clear. Going into turn number 3, no, side by side still into turn number 3, coming out of turn number 4 here in moments time. Kelly.
Bill, some great drafting on the inside line between the 88 and the 19. Ryan Wasilewski just doing a fantastic job as a pusher. He's kept that car pretty much sealed to the back bumper, but now look at the high side. Pretty much a 3-car bump draft there between the 92, the 01, and that 26 machine. And once again, a very close call at the start-finish line. The top 5 cars all within a 1/10 of a second pretty much. As these guys are battling hard now for this race lead, is knowing that this race may not go the full 75 laps, but now look at the big bump draft from the 01 to the 26, and now Eric Gary might actually get clear of Dalton Kiro. The question is he going to drop down in front of him once he does get clear? Going into the corner, though, Kilroe is going to get the advantage, and that is going to allow him to pull even up once more, but we've got a bit of a challenge. It looks like we're going to get green flag pit stops, number of cars going down, and that's actually going to cause another wreck. Big problems back in the field as cars trying to go down pit road, but a massive wreck. They are still wrecking going into the tri-oval.
Yeah, and you know, you just got to be so careful. I saw that happening, and I was looking to see if anybody would get a little bit squirrely, and they did. It all started with that number 16 getting in contact with the number 35 getting in contact with number 16. Got a little bit of shove. 16 got into the 19. 35. Just, you know, so much calamity everywhere and nowhere else for anybody to go. The 88 and the 19 had to go down pit road.
Well, this is going to at least shake things up for the race lead, as now Eric Gary is going to be our race leader, and you have to wonder, is he going to have to come down pit road this time by? I don't think Travis Brown will have to. He's been pitting throughout the night, so I think the 01 at least will be fine. I don't know about Eric Gary in that 26 machine, if he's come down pit road at all throughout the night, but if not, this will actually be an advantage for these guys that have stayed out.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we saw a lot of drivers poking their nose in. We saw Wesley Johnson up in there that we haven't seen all night long. He got his nose up in there, and, you know, as soon as that all happened, the front runners, I believe it was about 5 or 6 cars made it through. You know, that puts a whole entire new front runners up there. You got Eric Gary, Travis Brown, Blake Decker, and Wesley Johnson, and then Scott Merrick up in the top 5. A couple of names we haven't seen all night long. So great to see a little bit of action going on.
Well, actually, the leaders are going to come down pit road, at least for the most part, but it looks like we are going to have Scott Merritt stay out, so that 3 machine is going to go to the front of the field, but Eric Gary has decided to bring the rest of the field down pit road, give up that lead for now, and I think with this pit stop here, they should be able to go to the end of the race, because if they do not at least get these last few laps done, I think with only 30 minutes to go, yeah, it may go to time, but I think after this stop here, these cars should all be good to go straight to the finish of this race.
Yeah, and you know, if you have a couple more cautions that we've had, you know, it does allow for people to save some, you know, fuel. So you know, that's always great to see, and you know, I'm sure they'll be able to make it to the end of this race on the tires and the fuel that they do have right now. Maybe if they want to have couple fresher tires, if they do get to the end of this race, you know, it might influence them too, because, you know, fresh tires versus old tires, you know, does give you that little extra oomph into that corner, but we'll have to see.
Well, we have quite a bit of a shakeup towards the front of the field. Scott Merritt now leading this field. He's got the 68 of Ashton Schleiss behind him. Looks like Michael Rinko. Actually, Michael Rinko is, I believe, 2 laps down, so he's not even one of our front runners, and he's up towards the front of the field. Then Eric Gary going to be sitting in about that 4th place spot. Then comes Travis Brown. So you've got a number of cars, a number of different cars up at the front of the field now.
Yeah, and you know, always love seeing a little bit of a mix-up here at tracks like this, because it gives fresh people into the lead and into that lead pack that we haven't seen all night long. And you know, it's hard to get to the front when all there are is cautions out on the speedway. So you know, great job done by all these guys, and we'll have to see how these new front runners work out, and see if the people that we've seen in the back, like Kevin Foster, he's in P20 now, so we'll have to see if he can work himself back up into the front.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this 3 machine of Scott Merritt decides to start. We've been seeing the 88 electing to take that outside line as he gets the choice, but it's possible that 3 machine of Scott Merritt might want to stick to the inside. And the reason we've seen the 88 stay towards the front is because he's had the help of that 19 machine of Ryan Washleski, and that's pretty much those 2 of them working together so well has pretty much been the only reason why that 88 had stayed out front for as long as it had. And I think we're going to start seeing that the leads start shuffling around a little bit more, as I don't think there's really going to be any tandems up front that could really work as well as the 88 and the 19 did earlier on in this race.
Yeah, and just brings so much more to the table now that we've seen just a nice little mix up here, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more racing action and a lot more aggressiveness up to get to the front of the field, because you just got to do everything that you possibly can to get up to the front now that we're coming to 25 laps to go, and we might not even make it to the end of that, so we'll have to see.
Well, there's still a few laps left in this race. We're going to be at 25 to go at this moment, and at the time limit we've got 30 minutes left to go, so it's still up in the air whether this will be a time race or a lap race. If they were to go green, they will be okay for time, but if we continue to have cautions like we've had all night, I think we're going to hit this time limit, so it's leaning a bit towards the being a timed race.
Yeah, and it brings a lot more different kind of view onto this race that these drivers see, because if it turns into a timed race, you have a set time that you're going to finish. If you just let this race run out, you do not know when these 25 laps would end, but now that you only have about 30 minutes left here at a race like this, you have that amount of time to get to the front. You don't just have 25 laps that could take however long, but it's crazy.
Well, I believe the lights on the pit or the pace car are going to go out this time around, and that will mean we'll have one more lap to go before we get going into green, and we'll have to see just how these cars are going to start this time around. As we mentioned, it's another entirely new group of cars up front, and we don't know how these guys are going to basically react to the start of this green flag. Actually, lights on the pace car are still on, so we've still got at least another 2 laps to go before we get underway.
Yeah, a couple more laps until we get underway, and we've seen how hard this Talladega Super Speedway has been. And, it does challenge the most people here, and it does show who can survive. I've said it at the beginning of the broadcast, and I'll say it again. This isn't about finishing. It's about surviving. And we are seeing now 26 drivers on the lead lap. So, we'll have to see what that works out to be. And at least 3 drivers have retired, 3 drivers exactly, if I do say so. And, I think the most thing is that the quick fixes have been such a help for some of these drivers that are a lap down but still staying inside of this race, because they do want to get points and they want to make sure that they are here at the end of this race, or at the end of the championship, excuse me.
Yeah, as mentioned, there's still a battle for the championship going on, as Brian Dees holds on to the last money paying position. In third, Eric Gary and Nicholas Wing are the guys that are really challenging him for those that last money paying spot. So I think right now, Eric Gary would definitely be the guy to be moving into that spot, as I think he might be the only one of those 3 in this race. And currently he's sitting in 3rd place.
Yeah, great job done by him to get himself up into battling contention here. We saw Eric Gary, get a little bit of help from Travis Brown. They worked well together, but they're not going to be starting next or behind each other. They're going to be starting next to each other, so that's going to be a little bit more tricky. You're going to have to find a way to get inside or in front of one another to get working. So you know, it's really exciting to see how these drivers are working with each other, finding out who they want to work with, as we're going to have at least one more lap of pacing. So we're going to have to see if anybody else wants to get paired up with anybody. But, you know, great job done by all these guys. Scott Merritt finally taking the lead. I believe this is the first time that we've had a steady leader other than the other driver, Dalton Kilroy, that was. But, you know, great job done by all these drivers to hang in there and keep racing after all of this, and we'll have to see what comes next of this.
Lights are out on the pace car this time around, and Scott Merritt has elected to stay on the inside line, so he is not going to be doing what Kilroy was doing and going to the outside. He's decided the inside line is going to be the safe place to be, as it really Kilroy was only kind of doing that to allow be able to use that jump to get ahead of the 19 to make sure he was hooked up with that 19. But as mentioned, we're not going to have that tandem up front anymore, as I don't think Merritt's going to be working with Gary and Johnson on the inside line, so things might get a little bit more hectic up front. There might be a few more drivers that are going to be able to shuffle around for this race lead, and it's possible that maybe Ashton hooks up with that 01 of Travis Brown, and maybe even the Kyle Vincent Gilbert might help out as well, and maybe those guys can get some good momentum going and get the race lead off of the first lap, as we saw Kilroy do the very first lap of this race.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of different kind of strategy at this race, and you know, you just gotta love seeing this different kind of stuff here and there, and you know, just different kinds of things at different kind of tracks. And you know, this car track combo is so phenomenal that we've seen you know, just such great racing from these cars and other races in the past, and we'll have to see how these drivers all work themselves out over this next, I'm gonna say 25 minutes, because I believe that we will not be able to get 75 laps in under this time. So I'll say 25 minutes that we do have left here at Talladega Super Speedway. But you know, these drivers have done great for what they've been given, and you know, just always done such a great job.
All pace car pulling ahead of the field, getting ready to make that dive down to the safety of pit road, and that pace car has definitely had a lot of work throughout the night. I think that was the 7th or 8th caution of the night. Now we're going to see what Scott Merritt is going to be able to accomplish at the front of this field, but we also got to keep an eye on that 68 machine of Ashton Schleiss. He's going to have a few good drivers behind him that may have the opportunity to push him. Green flag away in the air, and big shot from the inside as the 26 machine pushes the 3, and a big checkup on the outside. Looks like the 68 machine did not go anywhere, as now there's cars scattering all over the place. The 11 machine going up to the racetrack up to the wall, as that 68 machine still dropping like a rock, and now the 26 and the 18 working together as teammates and just leaving the 3 on the bottom all on his own, hanging him out to dry as they make their move to the race lead. And look at that 92 of Blake Decker. He's going to try to sneak his way through as well, trying to hold on to the draft just a little bit, but now those two have moved down to the inside. He's got no one to help him on the high side, and these drivers behind him have got the momentum. They might just leave him in the dust. Yeah,
I was expecting Wesley Johnson and Scott Merritt to do that, because they are running the same paint scheme, so I was expecting them to work together and leave the number 3 of Scott Merritt behind, because I'm sure if you can work together, you can get away from these drivers back here. But we'll have to see. You know, great job done by both of them to get hooked up, but unfortunately got a little bit of separation from them, and yellow flag is out. But the one thing I'd like to point out before we do talk about this yellow flag, Kelly, is that the new end lap that admins have been showing has been lap 62, so we do have 7 laps to go here, Kelly.
Well, Travis McChesney is the reason for that last caution. Actually, quite a few things going on with that caution. Looks like Kyle Krasinski just kind of decided to go on a trip through the grass, as he just came onto the tri-oval and suddenly turned that machine to the grass before his car kind of just disappeared. So I think that was some possible technical issues for the 38 machine, but then a little bit behind him, Travis McChesney just having a little bit of problems there. I think he got into the 66 machine of Corey Sherman and just ended up getting turned into the outside wall, getting into the 77 machine of Arthur Floyd, and that is what brought out our next caution of this race.
Yeah, and I believe that's the 8th caution on the night here at Talladega, and unfortunately some set of circumstances do arise from races like this and races in general. You know, we do have technical difficulties here every now and again, and you know, I'm sure we've all experienced one of them at one time. So you know, it does happen, and it's very unfortunate, whether it's internet issues or sim issues, but you know, it's very unfortunate set of circumstances, and obviously not something that we want to see.
Caution number 8 of the night, and again, just I think possibly 2 laps that we had under green before we went to the caution, and I think the longest we have had throughout the night is a 5-lap run. So really this race has been dictated by these short little sprints, and that's really what's allowed these guys that have teamed up on these race starts to be able to stay up front, because while everyone else is still trying to get their momentum and try to figure things out, the 2 drivers are working together to build momentum faster than the others that are battling for position, and that's really what's allowed these tandem drivers to dominate so far.
Yeah, and you know, getting out to the lead, you know, it's a big deal here at a race like this, because it is a race dictated by, as you said, you know, these few little sprints that we've had throughout the race. And you know, unfortunately, this race has been 85-90% caution laps, and laps that have taken longer than 2 minutes, and now just getting word in my ear that we are going back to the original scheduled distance of 75 laps. So I will put my statement back that we're going to be hitting 1 hour and 55 minutes before we do hit that lap 75 mark.
Yeah, we've got just about 20 minutes left on the time limit. We're on lap 57 out of 75, so it's still going to be very close. If we can get some few green flag laps in, we should be able to hit that 75 lap mark, but at the rate that we are going, I don't think that it's still going to be pretty close, but we will just have to see how things shake up so far. But now at the front of the field, that's going to be Eric Gary, and he's going to have a teammate along with him. That's the 18 of Wesley Johnson, and we'll have to see if they maybe pull off what the 88 and the 19 were doing earlier on in the race, where maybe Eric Gary is going to start on the outside, get a good jump that will allow him to drop back down in front of his teammate below him, and that will allow them to build up their momentum a lot faster than the rest of the field, and then they'll be able to hold off everyone else.
Yeah, holding off everybody else is a big factor in a race like this. You know, you gotta make sure that you're gonna have everything that you can in this race to hold off the hard charging pack behind you, because we've seen what happens if you are not able to hold your line or hold off a bunch of cars behind you. You know, it does get a little bit dicey here and there, and you know, it's a little bit crazy to see how these drivers are running the middle line and the top line to get around each other.
Yeah, we've seen a few drivers pull some crazy moves along the to the outside and to the middle line, as well as if we could get some good green flag laps in and get that momentum build up, we could see some fantastic racing. As I know these cars are very capable cars in these super speedways, and they are capable of, they have the potential to put on a fantastic show in the hands of the right drivers, but we just can't get these guys can't keep the cars pointed in the right direction for long enough to be able to allow these cars to get up to full speed. But once we're able to get these cars up to full speed, and if we could get a long green flag run in, this could be a fantastic run to the finish.
Yeah, but you know, especially coming down to the wire, you know, these drivers are going to get a little bit more aggressive and trying to get everything that they can out of these cars, and you know, it's just going to be ever so tight to see how these drivers are going to be working together. Obviously, we do have Eric Gary and Wesley Johnson up towards the front, trying to get everything they can for each other, and you know, they're working together to get themselves up to that top spot. And if they keep on hooking up like they have, they're sitting pretty for a victory here at Talladega Superspeedway, Kelly.
Yeah, I would definitely put my money on Eric Gary and Wesley Johnson right now. Is just having two teammates together in this stage of the race is definitely a dangerous thing, as these guys could hold off the other drivers very easily if they work well together. And we saw how well they worked together on the last start, so it's very possible that this race could just go to these two drivers.
the race can. And, you know, we've seen a lot of domination here tonight because, you know, there hasn't been a lot of green flag runs for us to see what other cars have because, you know, it's hard to get something going within a lap and a half that we've been seeing here constantly tonight. So, you know, if they want to get a different leader, if they want to have a hard charging race for the lead, we need at least 5-7 laps to get a little bit of a run built up to get somebody around each other.
Well, we continue to pace here at about 60 to 70 miles an hour, which is a lot less than what these cars are capable of, which makes this track, as I mentioned, seem a lot larger than it seems when you're going around at 190 miles an hour. But we're gonna get, hopefully, if we could get a good green flag run going, it could last us to the end of the race. As mentioned, I don't believe these cars will have to pit anymore, as they pit on that. The majority of the cars pit on the last caution, which should mean they should have full tanks at the end. And looks like the 26 has already chosen his lane. He's going to go to the high side, and he's probably going to do exactly what the 88 and the 19 were doing earlier on. Once we get to the green flag, he's going to get a good jump and then drop immediately in front of that 18 machine to allow the 18 to push him.
Yeah, it's going to get a good push here, and you know, just got to make sure that you're getting everything that you can out of this car, and you know, obviously coming down to the wire, and you know, it's going to get a little bit hectic here in these last closing laps. Obviously 15 laps to go, but you know, obviously can't do math. Maybe 15 minutes left. Yes, 15 minutes left here in this racing session, and you know, it's going to get a little bit crazy.
And so Eric Gary on the outside, he's going to have his teammate to the inside, and just behind them, that's going to be Sean Hayes on the outside, Scott Merritt on the inside. So the question is, we know exactly what the 26 and the 18 are going to do. We've seen it happen with a few other cars, and we can just kind of assume that's what they're going to try to pull as well. And the question now leads, what is everyone else going to do to try to go after these two guys? As I mentioned, they aren't working together. They're fighting each other so much that it's hard for them to go after a tandem that's working well together. So what a couple of these drivers need to do is just figure things out and just kind of elect, hey, you know, maybe I'm not going to be the one leading this line. I'm just going to push this guy, and we're going to see what we can do.
Yeah, really, that's got to be your way of looking at this. You know, you got to push until you can't push anymore, and you know, these drivers trying to do that, as we've seen, and you know, it's going to get a little bit crazy as the night wears on, and we know we are getting down to the end of this race. Before we know it, there's going to be a white flag out in the air, and you know, whether it runs under caution or under green flag is still yet to be determined.
Well, we have 14 minutes left in the race, and at the moment, it's gonna, when we go green, there'll be 16 laps to go. So it still is possible that if they were to go green, they will finish under green. But if they continue to get, I think even if we got one more caution, we'll hit that time limit. So pace car down and away, and we're going to see how this race is going to shape up. Is it going to be a lap race, or is it going to be a time race? Eric Gary going to lead the field. He's actually getting a start jump way off to the start. He's going to get that under power before we even really get through the tri-oval, as he wants to get immediately down in front of his teammate on the inside line, and this field will immediately get into single file as they try to build up their momentum.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was expecting, trying to get everything that you can before the restart, trying to get yourselves hooked up, and you know, trying to get working together, and you know, that's exactly what happened. And now they just got to defend their lead with Sean Hayes and Scott Merritt also trying to get to the victory lane here tonight. But you know, we'll see how it works out, and you know, the two teammates here working together really well, obviously.
Look at the 92 machine on the high side, just slingshotting out there, but he's got no one coming up with him, and that's pretty much been the story of the night for the 92. He's had the speed, he's had the moves, but no one's been really able to help him get anywhere, as Blake Decker just trying to hope that maybe Jose Padro and the 88 machine of Dalton Kilrow will help him out just a little bit. Dalton's going to make the move to the inside, but that 44 is going to stay behind, or the 40 is going to stay behind him, so hopefully Decker can get a little bit of help from Padro, and maybe they can build some momentum up once more. And if they can. We've seen that outside line be able to make moves, and if those two can work well together, we may have some challengers for Eric Gary and Wesley Johnson.
Yeah, it's only going to get more exciting as time does wear on. We're getting a little bit of a great run, and we'll see if these guys can build something up as the number 49 is Sean Hayes. Looks high, but goes back low. Scott Merritt ready to push, ready to pounce. You can just see the adrenaline inside that car and just doing everything that he can. The 37 of Cody Wynn and Bill Harkins also right behind him.
And looking now at the 11, he's going to jump up in front of, looks to be the 64 machine, and that's going to build up that outside line just a little bit more. And now that they got more cars together, they're starting to get more speed, and they're starting to be able to maybe build up to some momentum to try to make a move on that front group, but they're not quite stacked up tight enough. That 92 machine needs to get closer to the 64, but he's now actually going to get pushed to the outside. It looks like Jose Padro wants to make a move through the middle line, and he wants to try to get himself at least one more position. And that 92, Blake Decker not going to put up much of a fight. He's going to let him by. Actually, no, that is the 01. Sorry, that's very similar to Spain scheme, but that's Travis Brown. He's been trying to make that move through the middle. We've seen him do that before, and I should have been able to tell that was him. It's pretty much a signature move for him to just kind of shoot the gap and try to thread the needle between. Now we've got some lap cars trying to shake things up just a little bit. It looks like everyone's going to try to get through cleanly, but now the 88 is going to move up in front of the 11. He wants to get up towards his teammates, but the 37 of Cody Wynn, he's going to move there as well. The 88 getting a bit of a wobble as he gets nudged by the 11.
Yeah, great job done by the number 88 machine of Kilroy. And, just great job, Blake Decker. Now up towards the top of that, almost gets involved in a little incident between Travis Brown and himself, but able to keep everything clean and green. Bill Harkins now able to get up to that back bumper of the number 88 machine of Dalton. Almost a little bit of calamity as well. These guys are racing really, really well and really, really hard. Now the number 92 is going to start that third lane, quite possibly, see if anybody else follows behind him. Number 73, Kevin Foster, still trying to get a little bit of that draft done. If he works that middle lane, he'll be able to work with them. We'll see how it all works out. Going down the Talladega super stretch. Oh, so close, getting the nose chopped off. That's Travis Brown by the 11 of Bill Harkins. Now working that middle line again. So close, gets a little bit of damage to that yellow Crayola car. That's the number 64 of Joseph Strobel. So great job done by these guys to keep it straight.
That inside line is trying to push hard to be able to get going, but not quite able to get the momentum going just yet. There's a bit of a three-wide battle in the back of this field as the 88 Dalton Kilroy along with Bill Harkins up on the high side. But now there's a bit of a run through the middle line. The high line coming with them as they're starting to make some moves on those inside line guys at the moment, and they might be able to start building up. But that front group of about 5 cars is pretty much nose to tail. At least the first 3 are nose to tail, but look at these guys in the back. They're trying to work these outside lines. They are pushing and bumping as much as they can, just trying to get as much speed as possible out of those race cars to just build up the speed to go after. But the second they start showing that they're a bit strong, if someone else tries to jump out in front of them and really just kills all the momentum. But now here comes the 01. He's going to try to make a move to the outside. He wants to lead the line.
Yeah, these guys need to get ready because we are coming to 10 laps to go, and it's only going to get more and more intense. You do have a lap car up to make the 4th line. So close. The number 92 did not see that car because he had Travis Brown right in front of him. Had to make a very, very evasive maneuver at the last second. A little bit of contact between the 64 and the 92. Getting so close, getting a little bit of feistiness down the back stretch now. Travis Brown working with Blake Decker down that back stretch. So we'll have to see now. It goes in front of the number 64, Joseph. Let's see how this top line works out, Kelly.
Well, Travis Brown, he's trying his hardest to go after these teammates that are leading the front pack here, and he's got a bit of help from Blake Decker. Blake Decker's been a guy that's been trying to make this outside line work. So these two together is definitely a recipe for success. That's if they can work well together. 9 laps to go on the race. 8 minutes to go on the timer, so it's very possible this will go down to the wire. If we may not get 75 laps, it may end up just being 74 or 73 if the way the time may work out. But Cars are still battling for position. The 01 is still gaining a bit more momentum. Now look at the 26 and the 18. They're trying to chop off the momentum of the inside line, or the middle line. And now there's a bit of a battle as the 01 does not want to push these guys. He wants to find a way around. But look at the 49, Sean Hayes. He's starting to get some momentum on the inside. So these guys moving to the middle line to block might actually be cutting them out. But there's a caution on the racetrack, and this might be the one that ends it. Corey Sherman involved as he's sent spinning down the back straightaway.
I 110% believe that this will end the race here because it is 2.5 minutes around this super speedway under caution, and I do not think that it's enough. So I'm going to say unofficially, we do have our winners on the board, but that could change. You know, they were doing such a great job from these last 4 laps, I believe it was, and you know, you tip the hat to all these guys up front doing everything that they can. We've had a few clinching moments, but you know, they did such a great job keeping their car straight. Tip that to them.
I believe that was the longest green flag stretch we've had, which was 7 laps there. So, and as it looks like they're trying to change the restarts to single file, but it's possible that this might not even get to our next restart. So I think this may end the race. If not, it will be very close to the end of the race. They may get 1 or 2 laps in before the caution flag, or before the checkered flag flies for the time limit. But it may just be that Eric Gary will win this race, and that will help him in the hunt to get into the last money-paying championship points position.
Yeah, and you know, it might be a little bit too little too late for them to change the cautions to single file. Now that could just be to help get the order right once they cross the finish line for that final time. But you know, great job done by these guys tonight. You know, just gotta love some racing here at Talladega, especially in these kinds of cars. You know, it's been a long night, but it's been an eventful one, that's for sure.
It's definitely been a long and eventful night. 75 laps ends up taking about 2 hours, and we won't actually finish this entire race, which is unfortunate. I was hoping we would stay green as the racing was starting to get very exciting, as a few of these drivers were starting to build up the momentum and just showing what these K&N cars can do.
Yeah, these cars, you can see why they're my favorite, because you know, any kind of track that they run them at, they always put on a heck of a show, especially at a track like this. We talked about it at the top of the hour here for this kind of racing, and you know, just gotta love it. And you know, watching how these guys had to adjust to their surroundings and had to adjust to the kind of car. I'm sure these guys mostly are used to running those Gen 6 cars with the front nose being very flat, but these guys made a great adjustment and had only a little bit of incidents up towards the front, a little bit of damage here and there for the front runners, but all in all, the guys who needed to win won, and great job done by all these guys.
Yeah, so Eric Carey, just with the help of his teammate Wesley Johnson, they were in trouble. It looked like Sean Hayes for a minute was going to be able to take that spot, but if the caution came out just a few seconds later, it's possible that Hayes would have had it, because Gary and Johnson went up to block the momentum of that middle line, which was led by Travis Brown, and Brown had some speed. He was trying to find a way around. It looked like he was going to try to thread the needle to move from the middle line to the bottom line, but just wasn't quite able to make that move happen. And like I said, if we saw things go green for a little bit longer, it definitely would have been exciting.
Yeah, you could see a lot of you know, stuff moving around, and you're seeing a lot of stuff starting to brew, starting to percolate around that front area. You know, you had a lot of stuff. You had Travis Brown trying to stick his nose in there, but was only able to get what most likely will be a top 5 finish, which I'm sure he would not like to see. But you know, great job done by him trying to get to the front after taking that very interesting strategy move a couple laps into this race.
Well, we still have a few more laps to go and a few more minutes to go, and we're at an hour and 52:30 out of an hour and 55, so not much time left in this race. If the pace car lights were to go off this time around, I think we'd be able to get 1 lap in, but the pace car lights will stay on, and I believe will effectively finish this race.
Yeah, I think, I want to say once we hit 155, it becomes 2 to go. So maybe if the lights were to go off next time, you have 1 lap, but I cannot be too sure about that.
Actually, we're looking at the elapsed time, which also includes the time it took to basically do our opening pace lap. And I don't believe that's the time that counts for the time limit. The time limit goes off of when they go green. So last time they crossed the start-finish line, that was 1 hour and 47. So it is entirely possible we will still get a couple laps in, but it won't be very much in effect, because it's still going to take about another 5 minutes to get back around a couple more times to go green. So it's still possible we may get a few more green flag laps in, but it may at most be 1 or 2.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, you have 2 different times that you're looking at, and you know, you're going off of 1, but it could be completely wrong. But you know, you just go along with it. But you know, it's been so long since we've had a timed race, and you know, it does come down to it. As I've mentioned before, we've had broadcasts on here, but it's been a while. But you know, you're just trying to find out which lane will work best for you, and you know, we might have a shootout here, guys.
It could definitely be a 1 or 2 lap shootout, which would definitely prove very interesting, but that would also play into the hands of Eric Gary and Wesley Johnson, as they're a teammate tandem that's been working together. And if they get to they hook up once more, and as we've seen them a few times before, if they they get the tandem hooked up, they get the momentum a lot faster. They build up their speed a lot faster than the rest of these guys, and they'll essentially be unbeatable in those first couple laps. So if it does end up being a shootout, I don't think anyone's going to have even a chance to go after the 26 and the 18.
Yeah, and you know, we're gonna have to see what works out, because you know, we've seen a lot of aggressiveness, and I'm sure Travis Brown does want to get inside that top couple incidents right there. And you know, we've seen him stick his nose into places where he wanted to get involved, but we saw how that worked out for him. You know, he unfortunately closed the door, and you know, trying to do everything that he can.
Well, we've seen that those guys did block when they had a bit of when the outside line had a bit of a run, so I'm sure that they will try to make those cars as wide as possible throughout this last run. And looks like everyone is stacking up. We had 1:50 on the line last time around, or sorry, 1:50 on the line last time around, which does mean we should get a few more laps in. It's possible we will get our 75 laps in, as we are lap 71 right now. Could be lap 72 at the line. So it is entirely possible that we will be able to just barely finish the full length of this race. But again, it's going to be hard to get around those front 2 drivers, and I'm sure that Eric Gary is going to get the jump off the start, but we'll have to see just exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah, it really does come down to this one. You know, it's going to be exciting to see how these guys really work towards that finish, and see how they all work towards each other. And I believe that you're just going to be working with somebody who you haven't worked with all race long, but you need to work with them in order to get to the front. So we'll have to see who does what at which time, and also with Eric Gary and Wesley Johnson being them our teammates. So you know, just might see what happened last time around here at Talladega with the restart, where he jumped the restart quite a bit to get in front to let both teammates get around.
Well, we saw last time that he was able to pick the outside while his teammate stayed to the inside, but however, his teammate was third across at the time of the caution instead of second, so he will stay to the inside line. He has his teammate behind him instead of underneath him, and actually checks up a little bit and gets a bit of a shot from his teammate. Now the 49 is getting way off ahead of the leader, and now everyone's speeding up to try to catch up to him, and looks like we are going to get underway. It's a bit of a messy start, but we are green once more, and green for what will possibly be the final time. 1:52.42 at the line, so it is possible they could finish this race out. Bit of a shot to the rear end of the 49 of Sean Hayes from Travis Brown. Gets that 42 machine a little bit wobbly, but now the teammates are fighting each other. Wesley Johnson going to the outside of Eric Gary, and They're either going to fight each other or they're trying to block off the rest of the field. And it looks like they're trying to block the field, but they're going to try to go 3 wide. Look at the 0-1 taking the shot right up the middle, and he's going to get the race lead. And now look at the 11 on the high side. He's going to get around those teammates as well. So the teammates, instead of working together, tried to block the rest of the field, and that's going to cost them.
Yeah, and you know, you just saw what just happened. Travis Brown loves that middle line. That's exactly what he used to get there. He tried it once before, but got blocked. He was not going to let himself get blocked again. Coming down now, and you know, now let's see what the time is. It's going to be 1:53 right now, so we're at least 2 more laps to go here. Oh, there they go around Wesley Johnson down. Travis Brown gets turned around. Oh, the humanity.
Big wreck back in the field. Caution is going to fly, and it looked like the 0-1 was going to have the race, but then the 49 of Sean Hayes ends up turning him in the end, and the drivers looks like it's going to be the 49 followed by the 92, so followed by the 26. So it appears if they decide to call the race as it lays, it'll be Sean Hayes over Blake Decker over Eric Gary. So Eric Gary still getting the good finish he needs for the points night, but not just going to end up missing out on the race win due to their decision to try to block the field.
Yeah, and you know, that just goes around. That just goes with how aggressive you got to be, and aggressive did go around. You know, it's something that is a little bit crazy. So, you know, I have no words.
Well, it was shaping up to be an exciting finish. We had a few attempts on this finish, but looks like this is going to be the end of the race. And what's really unfortunate is if these cars had been able to keep it clean for any capacity, we would have had some exciting racing. But now it seems like there's actually a lot of drivers that have run out of fuel that are just kind of trying to stretch it to the end.
Yeah, and you know, we had it's hard for the admins to call this because you had a wreck that happened completely different to what you had in front of you. Just trying to take a look at this replay. You know, you had 2 different completely wrecks, but one happened a millisecond in front of the other and caused the caution initially, but I'm not sure how they're gonna really call this, because in my opinion, Travis Brown should have the win. Because, yeah, the wreck behind them happened first, but Travis Brown happened a few seconds after. So I wouldn't want to be the admins right now because I'm not sure how they're going to be scoring this.
Well, it actually looks like the 49 machine is going down pit road at the moment, as we're still trying to figure out what is going on. He may be that they are telling him to go down pit road as a penalty for that wreck, and if that's the case, that might give the race to Blake Decker, but we do not know at the moment. So we'll have to see what is the official call here, but that I think is the end of the race. It's going to basically finish 1 lap early as we hit the time limit. So at the line, the unofficial results here, we're going to have to say this, stress again, these are the unofficial results. They are subject to change due to the nature of this finish, but at the moment, Blake Decker wins the race. Eric Gary comes in 2nd. Cody Wynn in 3rd. Ashton Schleiss will come home 4th. Brandon Dennis going to be coming home in 5th. Ryan Washleski in 6th. Travis Brown finishes up in 7th. Joseph Strobel in 8th, William Lewis in 9th, and Jose Padro will round out the top 10.
P11 will go to Sean Hayes. P12, or P11 goes to Jason Bernarosa. P12 will go to Sean Hayes. P13 will go to Wesley Johnson. We saw him up in the front a little bit, but unfortunately finished 13th. 14th will go to Kevin Foster. He was doing pretty good towards the start of the race. Last car on the lead lap. Kyle Vincent Gilbert will finish P15. 16th will go to Corey Sherman. Bill Harkins, P17, P18, Mark Arthur, Dalton Kilroy to P19, P20, Louis Scott Merritt.
So P21 will be Ian Habuick. Travis McChesney comes home in 22nd, 23rd to Michael Rinko. Taylor Fry will be 24th, 25th Jordan Berry. Tyler Rowland, 26th, 27th Noah Van Hout. Arthur Floyd will finish in 28th, 29th will go to Brian Dees, and Kyle Krasinski will finish in 30th.
31st, we'll go to Jeffrey Patterson. Fabio Diaz will be finishing 32nd. 33rd, we'll go to Terry Condas. Brett Guzik will be finishing 34th. 35th, Jeremy Funk. 36th, David Dodd. Bryce Lewis will be 37th. Terry Foster, 38th.
Well, that rounds out our 38-car field. We're going to take a quick step aside for a moment, and when we come back, hopefully our post-race show and a few driver interviews before we close it out for the night. But don't go anywhere. You're watching the Weregonnalose 200, brought to you by the Blazing Pedals Racing Series on LSR TV.
Number one source for reactions online.
You dirty mother... Very sorry, I sneezed again. Yeah, very sorry, you do the same thing every race. You're getting posted on Facebook. I'm gonna make sure everybody kicks you out of the lobby. You will not be able to race in anybody's lobby.
He's about to do it again. He just... Jesus. Yep, you're losing your iRacing now.
Sorry guys, I'm really freaking tired, man. I gotta get off here.
Seriously, what the fuck?
Are you a renegade? Over. Team advised, this is not a renegade. Tango down.
What the fuck are you doing? Oh, he just runs again, back hitting the wall. Yeah, he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that last one was probably my fault because I sneezed.
Subscribe to We're Gonna Lose and become a renegade forever.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulator test driver.
Magnussen is 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
That's faster than the factory McLaren driver, and he's done 6 laps.
Let's go race.
Broadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
So, you want to race in NASCAR. The road starts here. Introducing the eNASCAR Ignite Series powered by iRacing. This is the gateway for all aspiring 13 to 16-year-olds. Starting June 20th, ignite your dreams of one day racing in the top tiers of NASCAR. Go to www.iracing.com/ignite for full details.
Welcome back to the Weregonnalose 200 from Talladega Superspeedway, where we just wrapped up this race, and this race is going to be official that Blake Decker is going to be the winner of this race, and we're going to get a word from him in just a moment here. So it really was a very interesting race, Trevin, and I hope to have gotten a bit more green flag runs, but I guess just that is the nature of racing these cars at Talladega. It is very difficult to make moves. They are just so they're so tightly packed and can really come up with some wild runs. And with the sometimes with the closing speed of those cars that have the momentum, it can be just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and you know it does happen from time to time. You know, we have seen races here that are very dicey at these kinds of cars, and you know it does happen. And unfortunately, you know, some of these drivers did just get the best of it, and you know, it happens. And you know, we've seen a lot of incidents that happened in the corner that really maybe shouldn't have happened. But you know, again, racing happens, and especially at a track like this, Kelly.
Well, now we're going to take a moment to get a word from our race winner, and that is the 92 of Blake Decker. Blake, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Blake, well, it's definitely a very interesting race, but at the end, you did come out on top. But really, were you expecting this to be a bit more of a green flag race, or were you expecting these short sprints interrupted by the numerous cautions?
Oh, well, I wasn't really expecting these short sprints. I've raced with these guys quite a bit, and we have had some pretty good racing, nothing like this.
Well, the race was definitely a really long one, but what was your strategy throughout the night? Were you hoping to stay up front? Were you wanting to kind of cruise around the back? And really, with as the race started to shape up, what did you have to change up in your strategy?
I started the race. I wanted to qualify up front and stay up there, try and stay out of as many wrecks as possible. And I just tried to do that throughout the night to put myself in a position to win later in the race like I did.
Well, as we were coming down to the last little sprint, you kind of found yourself a little sitting not quite up towards or not in that front spot. But as we were going towards the last couple laps of the race, what was your, before this was cut off by the final yellow flag, what was really your plan to try to maybe make a move to take the race lead?
Well, my plan, I really didn't have much of one. Just if I had a run and I had space, I was going to try to fill that hole, put myself in position to make a pass on the last lap.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us, Blake. But before we let you go, we're going to give you the floor and allow you to thank whoever you wish to thank for this run here you had tonight.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to thank Wesley for putting together this league. It's fun racing with these guys. Other than that, I don't really have much to say. It was a fun race to be in.
All right, thank you very much, Blake. That was the driver of the number 92 machine, winner of the Weregonnalose 200, Blake Decker. Now moving along here, we are going to go back to Trevin, who I believe is going to be catching up with the driver of the number 26 machine. That is Eric Gary.
Down here on pit lane with Eric Gary. Eric, you know, what a race we had, and you know, how difficult was it really to keep that mental mindset of knowing that you got a race when you were pacing two and a half minutes, you know, quite often? You know, was it hard to keep yourself in that mental mindset?
Yeah, it was pretty hard. The amount of cautions was definitely difficult, and it was hard to keep a good mindset and remember all the things I was supposed to be doing during the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was really who did you want to work with the most here, and how difficult was it for you to do so? Obviously we have a lot of cars here, and it gets a little crazy from time to time.
The driver I was trying to work most with was Wesley Johnson, number 18, and we kept getting separated because of the cautions and the wrecks that we get into. So at times I'd be mid-pack and he'd be near the rear, and eventually we hooked up and got to the front.
Yeah, and it gets a little crazy from here and there. So how was this last race of the season for you? Just coming off of everything that you've had, and really looking forward to next season.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy with all the wrecks and everything, and I'm definitely looking forward to next season and trying to win the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we let you go, any sponsors, shout outs, who gets it done for you?
I would like to thank the YouTube channel Weregonnalose for sponsoring this race and some of the cars.
All right, thank you, Eric. Hope to see you next year.
Yeah, thank you.
Kelly, back to you.
All right, well, now we're going to catch up with the driver who we've been doing the math, and we think we have got this all figured out. Mark Arthur here. I believe he is the championship winner for the Blazing Pedals Racing Series. So, Mark, before we get any further, congratulations. How does it feel to be the series champion?
It feels pretty good this inaugural season. I mean, that's pretty neat to win it the very first year. That's not the way I wanted to win it at all. And I apologize to you guys having to sit through a race like that.
Well, looking at your stats coming into this race, you had 2 wins under your belt. You had an average start of 6th, an average finish of 2nd. So that just, even though we didn't see any of these other races throughout the season, that just paints us a picture of a very consistent driving style. So what would you really say was the key to this championship that you had?
It's just that. I mean, I'm fairly consistent. Some of the others are very aggressive, as what you've seen tonight. My strategy tonight was just, I mean, if you see me, I was pitting twice every pit, every yellow, and just getting toward the back. That was my plan, is just ride around until about 20 to go. I figured they'd all wreck each other out, and they did. But I don't know. It was about, I think it was 19 cars on the lead lap there at the end. So I said, well, now I can race. And I think I gotten up to about 10th or 11th when that caution flew, but unfortunately it was right in front of me.
Well, still coming into this race, you had a 74-point lead, so I can see definitely why you were wanting to really hang out near the back, because you really just pretty much had to finish this race to get the championship. But now looking forward to possibly the next season of the Blazing Pedals Racing Series, and what's your plan to maybe go for another championship run to go back-to-back?
Just much of the same. I mean, we run a lot of short tracks in this car. I'm fairly good at short tracks. I really hate super speedway racing because of what happened tonight. Is everybody, all you have to do is hold your foot to the floor to be fast and kind of stay in line. And there's a lot of guys that normally don't run up front in a normal race, in a short track or a mile and a half where you actually have to drive the car. They'll be up front in these races, and they just can't handle it. They're all over the place. They're going 3 wide when they can't go 3 wide, and they beat and bang on each other. And I call these super speedway races brain dead racing. I mean, just foot to the floor and just drive a line. And people can't do that. I mean, I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to tell them. It's so easy to do these kind of races, but people just have to get to the front, and then once they get there, they cut across the guy. It just causes mayhem. I just cannot stand super speedway race.
Well, it worked out for you in the end as you become the champion for the inaugural season. And before we let you go, though, who would you wish to thank for this fantastic run you've had all season long?
Just Wesley and the team. I'm actually on Wesley's team, but I chose to not work with him just so it would be, if it came down to it and when both of us were up front, sure, I would have worked with him. But I thought to be fair, we should just split off and just not act like a team in this race, just for each man his own. And that way we have no loyalties. But Wesley and the rest of the team and you guys for putting on the show. LSR always does a great show. I've known Evan Pasoko for a while, and Laura. But, thank them. Thank Travis and Gilbert for working with me tonight. Travis was going to, but he got a up front fever, I guess. He wanted to lead up there, but I didn't mind. But it was okay. I mean, it was pretty fun, I guess.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming to talk to us, Mark, and congratulations once more. And hopefully next season you can have another run just like you had this season.
Yeah, hopefully the race is a lot better at the end than this. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, that was the driver of the number 12 machine, Mark Arthur, our inaugural series champion for the Blazing Pedal series. And Trevin, that's pretty much going to do it here for us tonight. And really, there was a potential for a good race. We saw a number of good battles when we could get the green flag runs going on. Unfortunately, just couldn't string enough green flag laps together, really, to put on a strong finish.
Yeah, and you know, with this being the last race of the season, these drivers are trying to fight for everything that they possibly could. So, you know, obviously intensity was ramped up a little bit. So, you know, it happens. And, you know, you just got to be prepared for that and got to send it every way that you can.
Well, that's going to do it here for us tonight. On behalf of myself and the rest of the commentators here, Trevin and Cisco, who was down getting the picture for you, and on behalf of everyone behind the scenes, Evan Pasoko, DJ Lion, and Laura Lawson, we'd like to thank you very much for joining us here tonight, and we hope we'll see you next time.